I'd like to call to order the May 28, 2026 Old Bridge Township Planning Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Daniel, could we please have a roll call?
Mr. De Palma?
Here.
Mr. Lenning?
Here.
Mr. Talamo is absent. Ms. Cannon? Mr. Renna?
Here.
Mr. Petty?
Here.
Ms. Masella?
Here.
Mr. McIsaac?
Here.
Mr. Brennan is absent, and Mr. Farrar is absent. Chairman Lauer?
Here. Okay, we're going to swear in the professionals.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, minutes of March 26, 2026. Can I get any additions or deletions to do? If not, can I get a motion?
Move it.
I'll second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lenning?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon? Yes. Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Here? Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Here.
And Chairman Lauer?
Yes. Next resolution, 13-2025P, 95 Wesley Road, Peter Zimmy, extension of minor subdivision approval.
Mr. Chairman, this is an approval that the board had granted back in the fall of 2025 due to some delays they have regarding outside agency approvals. They're requesting a 90-day extension of time to perfect the subdivision approval, which would then expire as of August 20, 2026.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to move that forward?
Move it. Second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lenning?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer?
Yes. Okay, next, application 4-2025P, 600 Jock Street LLC, major preliminary and final site plan with a C variance, carrying, it's going to be adjourned till 9/24/26 with notice.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Okay, moving on, we're gonna jump out of order a little bit here. We're gonna go to Wawa Inc. first. Just so the planning board members are aware that the minor sub and site plan committee had a representation of what was going to be done at the Wawa, and we voted in favor of moving it forward, and Mr. Sodillo will give you the agreed to items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this application is for a minor site plan for a provision of changes to the parking and interior circulation of the existing Wawa. There's no changes to the building or any of the other site improvements. They are actually increasing the number of spaces from 43 to 55, adding an additional ADA compliant space, as well as additional striping, curbing, and landscaping accordingly. This was heard before the Planning Board's minor site plan and subdivision subcommittee. It was approved, subject to a number of conditions, one being the general condition of compliance with the board's engineer and planner's memo. They also agreed that they will provide signage for the air pump space. They will provide landscaping, low-lying landscaping, shrubing, and landscaping in the new proposed islands, and that otherwise they're compliant with all of our zoning regulations, as well as they'll advised they'll be compliant with the memorandums of our professionals.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve it.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lenning?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon? Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
Yes. Okay, next out of order is Walmart Real Estate Business 53-2025P, major preliminary final site plan with a C variance. Is there somebody representing? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tom Letizia. That's Letizia. I am an attorney with the law firm of Troutman Pepper Locke in Princeton, and here representing Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, which is the applicant, as well as the tenant of the property, which is the subject of tonight's hearing. We have provided the required legal notice of this hearing by certified mail to property owners within 200 feet, as well as publishing a notice in the Home News Tribune. Affidavits confirming the notice have been provided to Mr. Houlihan, and I believe, subject confirmation from your counsel, this board does have jurisdiction to hear this matter tonight.
Mr. Chairman, the board does have jurisdiction. Proper notice was provided by the applicant.
Thank you. The application was certified as complete by letter dated February 6, 2026, from Ms. Sawant. Just a little background before I call my witnesses. The property is identified as lots 9.11 and 2.11 in Block 5000 on the Old Bridge Township tax map. The address of the property is 1126 US Route 9, and the subject site is a total of 24.86 acres. I'm sure you all are familiar with the property. It is known as the Old Bridge Square Shopping Center, which contains a Walmart store as well as a Home Depot, a KFC, and a small strip center. The property is within the Regional Commercial Shopping, or CR, zone of the ordinance, which permits retail development. In 1999, the Township Zoning Board granted use variance approval with bulk variances to develop the property as a shopping center, and the Walmart store was opened in 2001. In this current application, Walmart is seeking clearing and final site plan, as well as C variance approval to convert an existing portion of the store parking lot along Route 9 to create 19 designated online pickup and delivery, or as we often call it, OPD stalls, in order to facilitate Walmart's pickup and delivery service. The application also proposes directional signage to direct customers to the pickup area, as well as building upgrades, namely new wall signage and new exterior paint to refresh the store facade to reflect Walmart's current branding. The application also includes approval for placement of up to 40 temporary C-box containers in the existing northwestern portion of the store parking lot. This is at the side of the store facing away from Route 9. And these will be seasonal containers on the site from October 1st through December 31st of each calendar year. So with this current project, this is the first remodel of the Walmart store in nearly 25 years. Just a little explanation about the OPD service. This is a business that has grown significantly since the onset of COVID in 2020. Customers view the service as a major convenience, particularly for those wishing to remain in their vehicles rather than shop in the store and are looking to reduce their shopping time. It is an amenity that today's Walmart customers demand. And as a result, Walmart is proposing OPD upgrades to its stores throughout the country. Having the online pickup area separate from the main brick and mortar store entrance also provides benefits from a circulation and parking perspective. The parking spaces are reserved for online pickup are not the same spaces the traditional customer will use to park and go into the store. So the pickup area is designed in a way more suited to the pickup process that results in a safer design for both customers and associates. The pickup operation will run between the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., whereas store hours are from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. There will be no changes to the shifts of Walmart associates. In terms of the temporary C-box containers, these are necessary in order to accommodate a seasonal inventory increase that occurs during the peak holiday retail period and are essential to support Walmart's fulfillment operations. The containers will be used for short-term storage associated with existing retail operations. They will not be accessed by customers. The C-boxes will store only general retail merchandise. There will be no hazardous materials or perishables kept inside the containers. No changes are proposed to the site circulation or customer access or staffing hours of operation. All loading and unloading will occur within designated areas to ensure safety of customers and employees. And the storage containers are placed so as not to impact existing loading spaces. And as I mentioned, the containers are strictly seasonal and will be removed promptly after December 31st. The OPD improvements that I described do not alter the number of existing parking spaces on the site. There are 1,309 parking spaces today in the center, which is an existing nonconformity, and 702 of these spaces are within Walmart's leased area, including 65 spaces located in an adjacent commercial building. To accommodate the seasonal C-box containers, the overall shopping center parking supply will be temporarily reduced to 1,235 spaces, and Walmart's car park to 628. So there will be a temporary loss during those 3 months of 74 spaces. We are asking for some variance relief. It is minor in nature, in our opinion. And I'd just like to, for the record, describe the variance relief. So we are requesting 4 minor variances pursuant to NJSA 4055-55D-70C2, which is commonly known as the flexible C category. And the majority of the variance relief pertains to signage. So the first variance pertains to the number and size of freestanding parking area signs. This is a variance from your ordinance section 250-52D7, which permits one freestanding sign for each parking area up to a maximum of 3 square feet. Our application proposes 9 total freestanding pickup directional signs, which is comprised of 3 existing signs and 6 new signs in the parking lot, as well as 19 freestanding signposts marking each of the 19 pickup stalls, with each post containing 3 stacked identification signs. The pickup sign on the post is proposed to be 4.5 square feet. The other signpost signage, which has the phone number for the customer to call, as well as the directional signs, are all 3 square feet. The next variance relates to banner signs. This application proposes 4 10-square-foot banner signs which say pickup on the existing and proposed light poles in the OPD parking lot. This will be a variance from your section 250-52.G2. I mentioned that this application involves some new wall signage on the store, so we do need a variance related to that signage. So this would be a variance from section 250-52D1, which permits 1 fascia sign in commercial districts. The Walmart store currently has 9 fascia signs, which include 4 auto center care fascia signs. And the combined square footage of this signage is 443.69 square feet. Walmart is proposing to replace the 9 fascia signs, including the auto care center signs, with a modernized coordinated signage package that consists of smaller, low-profile fascia signs to clearly identify store departments and to direct customers to key services. The updated signage package includes a total of 20 signs with a combined area of 419.22 square feet. This represents a reduction in the overall sign area on the building, while in our opinion improves customer wayfinding and operational clarity. The final variance pertains to parking. This would be a variance from section 250-55A, Appendix F of your ordinance, which establishes the minimum parking requirements applicable to a shopping center. So as I already indicated, the existing parking on the site is 1,309, and the parking supply around the Walmart is 702 spaces. The placement of the containers will temporarily reduce the parking, as I mentioned, by an additional 74 parking spaces during the 3 months of the end of the year. So we need a temporary variance, if you will, to permit that reduction in parking. The resulting reduction would be in the center 1,235 spaces and 628 spaces at the Walmart. We are also asking for some design waiver relief. There are 2 items under this category, and we are pursuing these waivers in accordance with NJSA 40:55D-51B, and they pertain to lighting intensity and light pole heights. In terms of the lighting, we're seeking a waiver from section 250-75H, Appendix K, which permits a maximum light level of 1 foot candle at property lines. This application proposes a light level of 3.6 foot candles at the Route 9 property line in the pickup area. We are proposing 2 new light poles in the pickup area. These light poles will match the height of the existing poles in the center, which is 40 feet. This does require a waiver from Section 250-75E of the ordinance, which sets a maximum of 18 feet for light poles. So my apologies for the long introduction, but I thought it was important to go through the background. So unless you have questions of me, we will begin our presentation. Okay? So I call my first witness, Ben Crowder.
Mr. Crowder, while you're standing, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And could you please just state and spell your name for the record?
It is Ben Crowder, that is B-E-N, last name C-R-O-W-D-E-R.
Thank you.
Mr. Crowder, could you please provide the board with your educational and professional background, please?
Yes, I'm a principal with the firm Bowler. I run our Northern New Jersey office up in Ridgewood, New Jersey. Bachelor's of Science degree in civil engineering from the University of Pittsburgh, 17 years of site civil design experience, licensed in the state of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. All licenses are current and in good standing.
Okay, you're accepted.
Mr. Crowder, you heard my background regarding this application, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I think you have some exhibits to present to the board.
I do. What I'll do very quickly before I get into talking a little bit more about the proposed conditions, I'll just quickly, Mr. Chairman, mark this A1 for the record. Just for the record, A1 is an aerial exhibit prepared by my office with this evening's date of May 28th, 2026. Board's reference A1 will be or the northerly direction will be the top of A1. And as Attorney Letizia had described, the overall property encompassing the Walmart predominantly to the south, your Home Depot anchor immediately to the north is about 42 acres. What we're really focused in on is the eastern portion of the existing site where of the existing Walmart, we'll be proposing the 19 OPD or online pickup and delivery parking stalls. And then the western portion of the site, which will be the location of the 44 proposed temporary seasonal C-box containers. No change to access, no change to the balance of the site, circulation, anything with respect to the Walmart. The Walmart today is about 133,000 square feet. No change in that overall building area, no change to the garden center. We're just implementing these two different features, east and west of that existing structure that's there today. What I'll do really quickly is then move to another exhibit. I'll mark this now A2. This is a colorized overall site plan. Also with this evening's date of May 28th, 2026. I've rotated the orientation 90 degrees. So now you have Route 9 to the bottom or east of the site. It's predominant access, which is the right in, right out off of US 9 into the center on the right-hand side to the north on A2. So we've zoomed in on the Walmart. Just as a note, the Home Depot would be just off of A2. And we're really focused in on first the eastern side of the store along US Route 9. We're proposing 19 online pickup and delivery stalls. As you'd have heard from Attorney Letizia in his opening remarks, the site does function today under an existing parking deficit, whereas if we looked at this site as a whole at a 5 space per 1,000 square feet, it would theoretically need 1,395 parking spaces. Currently today is 1,309 as it operates. No parking is lost in this area. They're just going to be restriped and signed. Your parking loss that was briefly introduced is occurring as a function of placement of the 44 temporary C-box containers. They're about 8 by 20, and a few of them are 8 by 40. They will be situated on the western portion of the site, and as you had heard, these are only seasonal, so this is only a 3-month period during the year from October 1st to December 31st every year. That's resulting in the loss of 74 parking spaces, which is getting you down to that final total of 1,235. We're doing this all over the state of New Jersey, just as an evolution for Walmart. One of the things that we like doing on these sites is when we do have a existing parking variance or occupying or losing additional parking space with the application, we do have our traffic engineer do a parking demand study. So they were out there, and you will hear testimony, but just to briefly summarize those findings, they were out there on a weekday and a weekend from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. to study the maximum occupancy of the existing Walmart parking lot. And what you hear from our traffic engineer, Mr. Fahim, is that during that peak hour, that parking lot was occupied at max 51% of what the total stalls are during a weekday 2 o'clock and a weekend 2 o'clock period. So even through the reduction of 74 parking spaces for that 3-month period, there is still ample parking to support this Walmart store. The loss that's occurring temporarily on the western portion of the site. And as I noted, no loss on the eastern portion of the site. Those are just going to be restriped, re-signed for that OPD operation. What we also like to do with these applications is, because this is an area where I'm ordering on my Walmart.com app, it's being fulfilled within the store, I'm arriving at the site to my OPD designated parking space, you have a lot of activity with associates bringing out the fulfilled orders to your car. So you're physically not getting out of your car, you're pulling in, you're either using the mobile app or you're calling the store at a designated number that's on the placard, and an associate's bringing that order out to your vehicle. We like to enhance light levels in this area for that reason, just for associate safety as they're accessing those 19 stalls. Hence why we have those 2 lighting waivers that you had heard from Attorney Letizia. And that's specific to not only the light pole height, we're adding a couple additional poles, 40 feet in height. That's all what's there today in the center. They're already up 40 feet from what's there today. And then you have that light trespass just to Route 9 of 3.6, whereas the max permitted is 1 foot candle. As it relates to signage, that really is the balance of things. And what I have is an exact copy of a plan that we submitted with our application. I can mark this, but this is an exact copy of what was submitted.
It's exactly what was submitted with the application. Just identify what you're referring to, but you don't need to mark it.
Okay. Exact copy of our pickup striping and signage exhibit PSS1 that is last revised December 11th, 2025. Very similar to A2. Your north will be on the right-hand side of this plan. I'm using this plan really to emphasize the directional signage. We're calling them freestanding signs. 1's permitted, 9 are proposed. There's 3 to 4 that are out there today if you're already familiar with the site. But we put these 3 square foot signs at all key intersections of the site to facilitate cars around the perimeter of the site to the OPD operation for this particular location at the eastern side of the store. And we do that so we try to direct traffic away from the front drive aisle where you already have a lot of activity with customers and associates going in and out of the store. At key intersections around this site, and you'll see that on this exhibit with our package, is really to just direct those cars. They're 3 square feet in size, just 2 foot wide, 1.5 foot in total depth, just to orient you around the development. Once you get to those OPD stalls, on those existing light poles, that's where we have the permanent banners. Those banners are about 10 square feet. They're tied very similar to like a downtown where you might have a seasonal banner on a light pole. Walmart likes to do that in this area, and that's really demarcating the pickup area for the overall site. So we have 4 of those immediately for those stalls. As you get to that area, you've got 19 stalls to park into. So as you pull into your stall, you'll have a post right in front of you that has 3 signs in front of it. The first sign is a very numerical number. You need that for your Walmart.com app, or you need that when you call the number that is the second placard immediately below to let the store know that you've arrived to your space. The last sign that's vertically hung is 4.5 square feet. That's why we need that variance over the 3 square feet, and that's just a vertical hanging pickup, just to designate those stalls and differentiate them from your regular customer stalls with the balance of the store. And that kind of wraps up a lot of the direct testimony on the signage aspect. We certainly have the review letter, which we could certainly address at the right time.
Okay, thank you. We go to our professionals. Vina, do you have questions or comments?
The only question I had is, in my memo, I had marked up the last row to move that next to the 2 rows, because I feel that you could barricade that aisle and you don't have through traffic then going through during those 3 months. And that would clear, because many people use that outer ring to go around the shopping center. So instead of having it in 3 different rows, you could just limit it to the 2 rows and barricade the site. And that is something that we would like to see.
Yeah, and that was a great suggestion and comment. We have talked with Walmart store operations, and we can make that change. I think that makes a lot of sense to improve circulation on that western side.
And just to give the board some background, there have been containers that are stored on the site currently, at least for the last 5 years that I know of. And most of those containers are stored along the front of these, along Route 9, so they're visible. There have been concerns of them being in the front yard. I think I like this location better because now they are to the rear. Again, it also would save them a new variance, because when you have accessory structures such as these within the front yard, that would be a variance. Now they're tucked behind, they're not visible to while you're traversing on Route 9, which is a better location. Those pickup signs, although I had concerns about them being a lot more than what you need, they're smaller in size, and we do not really control directional signs. These are considered directional. As long as there's no logo on it, I wouldn't consider it a sign per se. Also, with the fascia signs, I think your plans say 20. There are existing 9 and 20 proposed, but we do not count address signs. So then the variance is 19 for 19 signs. Banner signs are not permitted in the township, so that would be another new variance. But otherwise, I don't have any questions. I will wait for the traffic consultant, but I did look at, since there was a parking variance involved, I did look at near maps imagery to see how much of the parking lot is used, because the good part is the containers were on site when I was looking at the parking, and there, with the containers, there's still ample parking within the Walmart parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Darcy?
My office didn't review this application, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Okay, any questions to my right?
So with the moving of the containers, I guess, from the third lot to realign, is the parking number still dropping at the same amount?
Yes,
Yes.
it'll be yes, correct.
So
The
it's,
same amount.
It'll be the same
Yeah.
amount.
so it's 74 spots
74
total dropping
spots.
down?
Yeah, just for that 3-month
Okay.
period, correct.
So this will be on the side, all right, so it's where all the tractor trailers are?
Yeah, it's where the loading
So
docks.
where the loading
Yep,
docks are? Okay.
correct.
That's where I park my car, just so you know when I go there. I got five miles. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You indicated that there's 51% usage. Indicated that there's 51% usage was based on the review. What about during a holiday peak time? Because that's when the boxes are planned to be
Our
placed there.
traffic engineer will have testimony about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've just given just a rough summary on the occupancy, but he's got some more information from his
And
demand.
in regards of, was there additional site lighting added to the location where the C boxes are planned to be positioned? That
Not for the
wasn't-
C box area, only for the online pickup and delivery stalls that are being
'cause I'm
implemented.
thinking it kind of creates a blind spot there.
It is something, I will tell you, it is something we're always reviewing. These lights are 40 feet high in this center, so that's helping. A lot of the other stores and centers are a lot lower, and it does create,
We
you
don't
know, a
wanna
shadowing
create
kind of thing.
Areas that inappropriate conduct can
Correct.
occur, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, anybody to my left have a question?
Yeah, to his point, was there any more like cameras added or patrols? Because we don't want this falling on Old Bridge Police Department to patrol around those Connex boxes.
The store does have on-site surveillance attached to a lot of the existing light poles that are out there. I think to the comment within the review letter to actually barricade off that area through the relocation of that third row of C boxes is actually going to help kind of support that area being a little bit more isolated on the western side.
And what is the new reason that you need all these boxes on site now?
It's just fulfillment during those peak seasonal areas. The store back of house just doesn't have enough space for a lot of that general merchandising that comes in during the holidays, whether it's the Christmas trees, the seasonal pieces that occur October to end of year.
And what was done before? It was delivered by truck?
It's a series of trucks, some C boxes that have been noted by individuals on the board. This is really to free up a little bit more internal space because the store doesn't have the ability to physically expand.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think you have a good use of parking for the pickup location, because it's not a lot of use there, so, you know, I really like that, the signage is good. I like the containers being moved because they were right on Route 9. You know, I think it's more aesthetically pleasing for your store to have them, you know, towards the back of the property. The lighting, I think, will be good because I'm in the shopping center an awful lot, so I see it. My only concern is that the approval would be indefinite. You know, I would like to see like a 5-year renewal in case there is any issues that arise that were, you know, stores, business models change and stuff like that. So that would be my request that, you know, Vina, you have something?
Yeah, what I was going to say is probably it could be something that the zoning officer can administratively review it, and me as the administrative officer can sign it off rather than have them come back to the board, if that is acceptable. So should the board act favorably, then then that should be one of the condition, and it allows us to monitor the site situation.
Yeah, that worked for me. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I have one question. The time span for the containers is between 10/1 and 12/31.
That's correct.
What time frame will the containers be moved off the site?
So we had talked with the store manager a couple days ago on just how they're brought in. They're not all 44 going to be brought in on 10/1, but starting 10/1, they usually bring them in a couple waves just to set them up as the merchandising, you know, fulfills and needs the space. And then in advance, usually right after the Christmas, you know, rush, that's when they're going to come off in waves to be off the site by 12/31.
Do you have an idea of, is it weeks,
Probably
months?
be, I mean, just judging from other sites, you're probably looking by January 7th, January 8th, something like that.
Oh, okay, so a couple
Another
weeks.
week or two.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Okay, going to open it up to the public. Does anybody from the public have a question for this witness? See no hands and, okay. Okay, I close the public portion.
Okay. I now call Mr. David Fahim. Understanding on you. Just one.
Thank you. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
First name David, D-A-V-I-D. Last name Fahim, F as in Frank, A-H-I-M as in Mary.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Fahim, can you please briefly provide the board with your educational, professional background?
Sure. So again, my name is David Fahim. I'm a project manager at Traffic Planning. Is this? Yeah, it's on. Okay. There we go. I'm a project manager at Traffic Planning and Design. I've been a traffic engineer for roughly, I believe, 9 years at this point. Been a licensed PE for the last 5 years. My license is still good. I've testified in front of many boards in the state of New Jersey, and I've qualified as a traffic expert in the past.
Okay, you're accepted.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Fahim, as you are aware, there is a parking variance requested with this application that results from the placement of the C-box containers on the Walmart site. And I believe your firm prepared a report that was submitted as part of the application. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you briefly provide the board with the conclusions of that report and what was looked at in order to reach those conclusions, please?
Sure. So we prepared a report dated July 8th of 2025. And our report really looks at a couple different things, not just parking, but we also want to understand trip generation going in and out of the site as part of what we're proposing to do here at the location. So when looking at trip generation, really we ultimately rely on the wisdom of the NJDOT since we're located on a DOT highway. But we also utilize a document called the Trip Generation Manual prepared by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. So within that manual, we like to be able to project out what the anticipated traffic would be in and out of any kind of proposed development. Typically, it's based on the expansion of a building area, but because this particular development isn't modifying the building area either on the building or within the garden center in any way, shape, or form, we don't expect there to really be too much traffic, additional traffic, entering and exiting the Walmart site just because we're proposing some C-box containers on site. So we wanted to make sure, again, because we're located on Route 9, we have a DOT jurisdiction within the area. We wanted to get their opinion on it as well. So we also submitted our findings to NJDOT to say, hey, we're not modifying any driveways or anything within your jurisdiction. We're looking to do this improvement, but we don't believe it's considered a significant increase in traffic, and we want to get your opinion. DOT ultimately agreed with our findings, and they actually issued us a letter of no interest dated August 1st, 2025. Which ultimately states that we're exempt from doing any kind of formal DOT access permitting as part of this development because it doesn't generate a significant increase in traffic. So that's really the trip generation aspect of what we're doing. And then really the more important thing is the parking generation. So similar to trip generation, the ITE also has a document called the Parking Generation Manual to be able to project out parking demand for different types of land uses all throughout the country. Freestanding discount stores or like a Walmart is one of those land uses. There's lots of data from all different locations throughout the country. So we utilize that information per 1,000 square feet of building area to try to understand what we're looking at in terms of peak parking demand during a typical weekday and a typical Saturday. So as Ben previously mentioned, our office did go out and collect data on top of looking at the ITE information. So between both of those, the ITE data that was calculated as well as the empirical data that we went out to collect to see what the parking demand would be at the site. We found a maximum parking demand of 345 occupied stalls during any point in time from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. during either the weekday or the Saturday. The Saturday was more volume or more demand typically than a weekday, so we utilized that to just have a conservative scenario. One of the board members earlier asked about how it would impact when it comes to the holiday time, since that's really when the C-box containers would be utilized. So ITE also has information on that as well. They also state that Typically, for a store of this size, we would expect a parking demand of roughly 450 parked vehicles during a December holiday month, where we were seeing about 350 during your typical data collection that we did back in November, which is still a little higher than typical because we're getting close to like the Thanksgiving time period, but Christmas is ultimately the more parking demand at a site. So based on that information, we expect a maximum parking demand of roughly 450 stalls. So even under future conditions, when going from 702 stalls down to 628, we're expecting around 450 parked vehicles during that peak December month. So considering those loss of stalls, we're talking about roughly 180, about 180 open vacant stalls still, even after the C-Box containers remove some of the parking on site. So more than enough buffer to accommodate the anticipated demand under future conditions. And that's the ultimate finding from our traffic report.
Okay,
I
any
have-
questions?
I have no further questions.
Okay,
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
okay. And the traffic engineer?
I have no questions either, Mr. Chairman.
To my right?
You always look at me like I'm going to ask a question. So I usually am. When was the traffic study done? November of 25,
2024, yeah, November 2024.
And when was it done?
What was that?
What was it done? When in November? November
Thursday,
1st?
yeah, like the dates are Thursday, November 7 from 11 to 7 p.m. and then Saturday, November 9 from 11 to 7 p.m.
And you're saying that it was 350 that and they're saying that based off of your, whatever the guide is, it's saying
Mhm.
about 450 would be needed?
Yeah, during a December peak holiday month, yes.
So you're going down to 600 and
628. Yeah,
so you
628.
would roughly need about
There's still
70% increase in order to fill all the spots.
right. We're expecting during that peak December month, the parking area will be about 70% occupied as opposed to the 50 roughly that we saw out there.
All right, no, that's all I had. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Renner?
Yeah, I have just one question. Does that factor in the commuters as well that park in that space? 'Cause
Oh, the commuter
commuters
lot.
do-
Yes, we did collect that information as
they
well.
collect that data
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, we have that in our report.
Yes, so I oversee the commuter parking, and that's on the other side of the KFC, between the KFC and the Amboy Bank, and that's very limited use right now, so, yeah, so it shouldn't be an issue at all.
Yeah, it shouldn't impact the parking demand at the
Thank you.
Walmart.
Okay, any questions?
My concern would be just during the holiday season. You did a study the beginning of November, nothing to do with going into Black Friday and then into the Christmas shopping center.
Right, but we did utilize the ITE data that collects during December, which is typically a lot more demand. I mean, you don't want to project it for like one specific day, like Black Friday. You want to try to get it during a time where it's pretty congested, but you don't want like an anomaly kind of a day. So we did account for like a peak December holiday parking demand when we did our analysis.
Any further questions? Okay, could open it up to the public? See no hands, I close the public. Okay, Mr. Sedillo, you'll,
I think I don't know if they have another witness.
oh, is there another witness?
We have two more, yes.
Oh, two more, okay,
They will be brief.
okay.
Okay. I now call Mr. Perry Petrillo. Perry, you need to be sworn.
Good evening. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Perry Petrillo, Perry, P-E-R-R-Y, Petrillo, P-E-T-R-I-L-L-O. 9 Park Avenue, Park Ridge, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Petrillo, please provide your educational professional background briefly to the board.
Bachelor of Architecture licensed in New Jersey in '93. I've since been licensed in 25 other states and have been before numerous boards in the state of New Jersey.
You're accepted.
Thank you.
Mr. Petrillo, are you familiar with the Walmart site? That's the subject of tonight's application.
Yes, I am.
And did your firm prepare the architectural plans for the building facade improvements?
Yes, we did.
And these improvements include signage, correct?
That is correct.
Can you briefly go over with the board the proposed signage?
Sure. Exhibit that's up was submitted. That's the building elevations, and the exhibit behind it is also what was submitted, which is the signage details. Just in general, from the exterior point of view, it's a complete refresh and rebrand of the entire building perimeter. So the entire building perimeter will be cleaned, primed, and repainted. As part of that, and as part of the pickup, one of the only changes on the building facade is the existing door that's used for the associates to bring out the pickup, which is this door over here in the garden. It's actually within the garden center. We're just replacing that door. It'll be a new door, and we're putting a canopy over it so that the associates, when they open the door in inclement weather, there's not rain getting in the store. And the only other piece of that is there's a gate that's in the chain link fence that's accessible through the garden center. We're just replacing that so it's a little more functional for the associates. That's the building changes. With regard to signage, so currently, I guess we're down to 9 signs on the building. There are 9. We're saying now there's 8 because we don't count the address. The front facade has a total of 4 signs currently at 418.05 square feet, and there's 4 auto center signs totaling 25.84 square feet. That gives us a total existing signage of 443.89 square feet. The proposed signage is for 8 signs on the front facade, totaling 344.99 square feet. The 4 additional signs on the front facade are currently the Walmart and the Spark are counted as one sign because they're locked up as one entity, and the proposed they would be split, so that's 2 signs. So there's an extra sign there. Then we've got a pickup sign that we're adding, grocery and home, which goes over the vestibule because the brand sign moves to the building wall. And then we have a vision sign. So those are the 4 additional signs on the front facade. And then the auto care signage, there's a total of 11 signs, totaling 74.23 square feet. The signage on the auto center is really meant to be directional, to help the operation and help direction with the customer, so they understand which bay is numbered and what that bay is operationally, whether it's tire or oil change. Total proposed signage on the building is 419.22 square feet, which is 24.67 square feet less than what's on, and currently reduction in signage of about 10%. The ordinance actually allows for 15% of signage on the front facade, and if you took our front facade, it's 10,708 square feet, would give you 1,600 square feet of signage. So we're well under, we're just under 4%, so the allowable is 15. 3 of the signs are proposed to be illuminated, the Walmart, the Spark, and the pickup. Currently, the Walmart and the Spark are also illuminated. I think that the signage proposed is clear, it's legible, it's scaled proportional to the building, allowing for safe visibility and clear identification from Route 9 and the internal circulation. I think that about sums it up.
Thank you, Mr. Petrillo.
Okay.
Questions from the board or staff?
Nina?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
No questions.
Anybody to my left have a question? Okay, opening up to the public. See no hands. I close the public. Thank you.
I now call my final witness, Mr. John McDonough.
John, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Could you just state and spell your name for the record?
Sure. Hi there, everyone. My name is John McDonough. That's spelled MC, capital DONOUGH, and I'm the project planner.
Mr. McDonough, please provide your educational professional background briefly.
Sure. Licensed professional planner, state of New Jersey, current in good standing. Also AICP, that's our national certification, same status, current and in good standing. My education comes from Rutgers.
Okay, thank you. You're accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. McDonough, can you explain what your role has been with this application?
Sure thing. We conducted a standard planning analysis in connection with the application, the usual parts, review existing conditions. We know this is an established business with a longstanding commitment to the community. It's an anchor business. We look at the proposed condition. We see this as enhancements to that anchor business. There is some minor relief here. It's a permitted use in your CR regional commercial district. So again, we're looking at an application that is substantially compliant in its current condition and modifying it really in response to consumer demand, and that would include residents of Old Bridge as well. There is some relief. It's relatively minor here. Council ran through it at the outset. I can certainly hit it generally. I won't go through them all in detail again, but there are statutory criteria that the board needs to apply, bringing the testimony that you've heard back to the statute. This is all reconcilable under the C2 balancing test, whereby the benefits of the application as a whole would substantially outweigh the detriments. In terms of the project positives here, these improvements are going to provide for operational efficiencies to better serve the customer base. They are going to respond to consumer demand, which has skyrocketed since COVID, based on the ease and convenience that everyone experienced with online ordering during that time period and has certainly carried through. We represent Walmart in a lot of towns, and we're seeing this done over and over again. The consumers are embracing it, and the municipalities are as well. Why? It's a simple retrofit of existing space. It promotes efficient use of land. Most of these signs are navigation aids, as you've heard. This is a site that has hundreds and hundreds of parking spaces, so there's a lot of choices as to which way to go. These signs are going to help drivers get to this online pickup and delivery location. So all of those signs that relate to direction are justifiable as navigation aids that will provide for clear and safe identification through the site. You've also got those 4 banner signs which are going to hang on the light poles right by the pickup area. They're 10 square feet in size. To give you a frame of reference, this board on the easel here is about 8.75 square feet. So that's the scale of what the applicant is asking the board to move on, hanging up on a banner so that, again, when you get on this site with hundreds of spaces, you can easily identify and demarcate where that online pickup and delivery location is going to be. So you've got the freestanding signs, you've got the banner signs. You just heard through Perry's testimony as to the architectural justification. We've got signage on the building now. We're actually going to increase the number of signs, but decrease the total area. So really, when we're dealing with a large department type of business, we're identifying the various components therein. And then finally, through David's testimony, relief for parking within the lease area and the total site. You've got the basis there that there is a fluff, if you will, even at worst case in terms of the parking supply on the site that will provide for 100 or more spaces above what the actual demand will be. So I believe you have a good predicate in that regard as well. The project will respond to the planning goal for a variety of commercial uses in appropriate locations. We've got these seasonal containers, which we are also seeing, not only with Walmart, but other retailers as well, to deal with those unpredictable spikes in supply and demand during the holidays. We all know how crazy things get and the problems that can occur with the logistics supply chain. This takes some of the unknown out of the equation and the pressure to have that inventory there during those holiday times. The building signage provides contemporary brand familiarity that will meet customer expectations. This is going to bring your Walmart up to contemporary standards with the imaging that consumers expect. All of the above that I just gave you tie back to the statute and the purposes of zoning at NJSA 40:55D-2, especially Purpose A, the promotion of the general welfare. Purpose G, our planning goal for a variety of uses. Purpose I, a positive aesthetic. This is a site that is familiar in the public eye, in the local landscape, not changing, and substantially enhancing. And then Purpose M, our planning goal for efficient use of land, not an expansion of the building going out, not an expansion of the building going up, but basically working within the confines of what's there now. In terms of the negative criteria, you've got a series of witnesses here, licensed professionals sworn under oath. Based on, again, the predicate of that testimony, I believe the board can find that all relief can be granted here for these very minor site modifications without any substantial detriment to the public, without any impairment to the intent and zone plan. This is actually going to advance your zone plan intent to improve and enhance the efficacy of an established commercial site, spot on with your goal for positive economic development. Site signage is in the interest of public safety to facilitate wayfinding. Building signage, again, will promote a brand identity. You do have those two smaller design exceptions as well, which is subject to a more relaxed test. It's not the applicant's burden or the board's burden to find that the balancing applies here. The only test is whether the relief is reasonable. I think suffice it to say, the light level is reasonable in the interest of safety and the relatively isolated nature of the site in a commercialized area. You've got a large buffer of woodland depth to the back. And then the light height relief that relates to the existing lights on the center, so we've got some consistency there as well. Ben talked about that in his testimony, so there's some uniformity and consistency there in that regard. Lastly, we meet the test of impracticability, and that strict or literal enforcement of the ordinance from a design exception standpoint would really serve no practical purpose here. This relief is largely imperceivable in the public eye. With that, with all of the testimony, I believe this is a pretty clear-cut application where we land squarely on the positive side with minimal, if any, impact on the negative side. This is going to enhance the business and can certainly be granted without impairment to the zone plan or impact to the public. The criteria are met, and therefore approval is warranted.
Thank you.
That's all I
Mr.
have on
Steph.
direct.
Okay, thank you.
Questions from the board?
Question?
I have no further questions.
Am I right? Am I left? Okay. I'll open it to the public. Seeing no hands, I close the public portion. Mr. Sardillo will,
Is the applicant completed their application?
Yes.
Okay. So a vote in favor of this application would be granting the requested major preliminary and final site plan with the requested C variances as outlined in the testimony, as well as the design waivers as discussed. The conditions, in addition to the board's standard conditions of approval, including compliance with the board professionals report, would be that they, which actually is concluded in the report, but specifically identified, meaning that they would be relocating one of the C boxes to block or kind of keep it in within 2 rows versus 3 rows, as further outlined into the report, as well as that they agreed that the C boxes will be subject to a zoning officer's review and monitoring for, did we discuss a time period? Was it a 5-year review period?
Yes,
or
5.
5-year review period by the zoning officer. And if the zoning officer finds it acceptable, it continues. If they find an issue, then it will be reported to the applicant or the property owner, if they can't address it to the zoning officer's satisfaction, then they would have to come back to the board at that time. And those are the only conditions I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sedil.
The only small comment related to, with the professional reports, there was a comment about us reducing the number of signs. I don't think that's the case.
No, I actually answered that when the engineer was testifying. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Okay, I believe you met your burden to prove that this is an asset to the existing Walmart. It kind of reminds me of the one on 18. I think what you're proposing is already in place there. So I'm in favor of it. So can I get a motion to?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Cannon? Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella? Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Have a good evening.
Start one. Yeah, that's, if you want to offer that to them, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, that's up to you.
Okay, next application is 49-2025P, 335 Green Street LLC, major preliminary and final subdivision, major preliminary final site plan with a C variance.
Mr. Chairman, before we proceed, so I know that the next couple of applications, the memos that came down from the planning office as well as our planner is asking for redesigns of these sites. We have never sat and had someone come up in front of us when we're asking for redesigns. So I'm as curious as to why we're proceeding when our planning department is saying it doesn't work.
That's a very good question.
I think, Mr. Chairman, we let the applicant introduce himself, identify, and then the attorney can address the board's question.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Posada. I'm from the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent the applicant for both Green Street as well as Ticetown. I want to set the record straight that although we are presenting pursuant to the agenda, two different applications, Green Street and Ticetown, we would like for this board to carve out the remaining 15 minutes only for Ticetown, specifically because we will not be presenting that application pursuant to asking for land use entitlement tonight, but rather after hearing the comments from the board's professionals, we would like to take that opportunity to hear any other comments of the board so that when we do resubmit, we can have the totality of those comments from both the board and the board professionals. So I asked if that would be acceptable.
Yeah, that's acceptable. But just so you know, testimony ends at 10 o'clock and the meeting's over at 10:30,
Sure.
okay?
Yep.
But you can split it up any way you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
Proceed.
Great, so we're going to move forward with the application for Green Street. As stated before, my name is Matthew Posada, and I'm from the law firm Sills, Cummins and Gross. I think the best way of approaching this is to discuss the history of this subject site. We initially started the journey of trying to develop this site back in 2022 with this municipality. And over the past 4 years, we've gone back and forth, listening to the comments and recommendations and attempting our very best to adhere to not only those recommendations, but also the zoning code of this municipality, which we are charged with being responsible when considering the proposed plans that were presented before you. When I look at the history of the site, as I stated before, we started in 2022. At that time, we knew we were going to do subdivisions, but we didn't know the exact amount of lots. After initially hearing some feedback from this municipality, we decided to proceed forward with 21 lots. After getting some negative feedback, we decided to go back to the drawing board. And we went back to the drawing board, happened to be the same time when the 4th round of affordable housing legislation was enacted, and we started that window. Considering this municipality's position with the 4th round, we decided to go back to the drawing board and instead propose a 76-unit townhome project for the subject site, whereby 14 would be affordable housing units. Now, you guys didn't have the benefit of seeing that application because although townhomes are permitted within the zone, they're conditionally permitted. Thus, when you trigger variances, you go to the zoning board, which I know you guys are all very familiar with the D3s or D4s or D5s or any of the D variances. Send you over to the zoning board. We did attend the zoning board. We attempted to do an inclusionary development, but we had recommendations from the board that that was something that the township didn't want to see. So in an effort to engage in good faith, we had asked what type of project we would like to, this township would like to see. As part of the transcripts, the board planner did recommend that 18-lot subdivision would be more appropriate than a 76-unit townhome project. So that is exactly what we're here today to present before this board. What we have before this board is a single lot that we're dividing into 19 parcels, 18 of which, like the direction of the board's planner, will be single-family homes themselves. The one lot that is not going to have a single-family home is a simple answer for that. It's just encumbered by DEP constraints. So therefore, we're not going to propose any single-family homes itself. But as for the rest of the lot, as you'll hear tonight, they do have variance relief, de minimis C variance relief, and as far as it goes with the redesign, we like to present to the record of what we're proposing to do because ultimately, pursuant to either the Wawa case or even the Jackson case, the law is very definitively clear that an applicant is only charged with those responsibilities of the existing ordinances in place at the time of completeness, and therefore we believe that our plans are fully conforming, but for those de minimis C variances, which we'll go into further detail. For tonight's hearing, before we jump into it, I just want to make clear for the record to the board attorney that they are in receipt of our affidavit for notice, and that notice is adequate, and we do have jurisdiction.
Just double check, I'm not sure I got a copy of your notice, so I might have to defer to the board secretary.
We have it.
Yeah, that didn't come to my office, so I will defer to the board secretary as to whether or not that was received and sufficient. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
I
no.
didn't hear your response. Sorry.
No, we have it. We're
Okay,
good.
yes, it is
Okay.
sufficient. Sorry. I thought you were looking for it. That's right.
Yeah, I was like, the drama's building up here. Just a notice. All right. If I may, I have 3 witnesses here tonight. I have an engineer, a traffic engineer, as well as a planner. And if I may, I'd like to call my first witness, sitting right here, Mr. Seawald of Dynamic Engineering.
All right. Okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Sure. Josh Seawald, Sewald. I'm from the firm Dynamic Engineering Consultants.
Terrific. Mr. Seawald, why don't you put on your credentials for the record?
Certainly. Again, good evening, everyone. Great to be back in Old Bridge. I have a Bachelor's of Science and Master's of Science in Civil Engineering. I do this on a nightly basis. I've testified before over 100 land use boards, and I have testified in front of both the Old Bridge Planning Board and Zoning Board on prior applications. My license is current and in good standing, and I'm a partner at Dynamic Engineering Consultants.
You're accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Seawald, have you had an opportunity to review this municipality's review letters?
I have.
Great. Have you also had an opportunity to visit the subject site?
I have.
And have you been thoroughly involved with the development of these proposed plans throughout this 4-year journey?
I have.
Great. Why don't you walk us through what we're proposing here tonight?
Certainly, and if I could ask if they could put on the aerial map rendering that we submitted earlier today electronically. That way the board can take a look at the existing conditions.
Now, is it something that was, we're going to mark as an exhibit?
It's going to be a new exhibit, correct? That is the Ticetown application. If we could flip over to the Green Street one. Thank you. Perfect. All right, so we can mark this Exhibit A1. It is essentially an aerial map exhibit right out of the civil drawings, sheet 2 of the record set, and then colored for tonight's presentation purposes. The yellow dark boundary line, that is the uniquely shaped property that we'll be discussing tonight. The dotted yellow line that goes around the unique shaped property, that is the 200-foot property owners list, and all the light zone lines that you see there directly from the Old Bridge Township zoning map. So let's go through Exhibit A1, again, prepared by my firm and today's date. Like I mentioned, it's a uniquely shaped property. It's about 9.9 acres in size. What is unique about it is we only have 50 feet of frontage on Green Street, and that's located right at the bottom of the exhibit. For orientation purposes, top of the plan is to the north, bottom of the plan is to the south. On the back portion of the property, we do have a pocket of wetlands. They are associated with a 50-foot transition area waiver. We do have a wetlands LOI already recorded on the property, so we know exactly where those wetlands are. In addition to that, and along the entire northern property line is a regulated stream that is called Deep Run or Bottle Brook, depending on which section of the mapping that you're looking at. We do have what's called a DEP verification that verified both the 100-year floodplain as well as the 50-foot riparian buffer. The site's been partially developed for quite some time. If you've been to the property, if you've taken a look through the survey or the existing drawings, you'll see that there are 6 dwelling units located on that northern property line. You can see some of the limited disturbance on that eastern side and northern side property. So again, 6 dwelling units is there. You'll see the pocket of the mailboxes right on Green Street if you've driven past the site. In addition to that, there's various associated sheds on the property, and it is actually located within the riparian buffer that exists out there today. And it was formerly, although I do believe it's closed at this point, a church playground and a church ground over there. The rest of the track is mostly wooded, and just for clarification purposes, the property is located in the R12 residential zone. To the north of us is the RS zone. It's the Board of Education, John Glenn School, as well as some additional residential homes in the distance. To the south of us is the R15 zone in the neighborhood of Green Street. To the east of us is further the R12 zone, residential homes, and further beyond is that Avalon Old Bridge townhouse development. And to the west is the ER zone associated with that wetlands and streams that we talked about a little bit a few moments ago, as well as more R15. So essentially we're surrounded by residential neighborhoods, and this is one of the leftover pieces from that Green Street residential area. If you wouldn't mind flipping over to the site plan rendering. Perfect. So this is a site plan rendering overlaid onto the landscape plan and then colored for tonight's presentation purposes, prepared by my firm, Dynamic Engineering, today's date. Same orientation, top of the plan is to the north, bottom is to the south. You see Green Street running in that east-west direction. It's just more zoomed in from Exhibit A1 for more clarity purposes. And Mr. De Palma, not to jump too far into my testimony, but I heard your first opening comment. We wanted to let you know that the subdivision that you see on the screen is in accordance with the underlying R12 zone. The number of houses we have is underneath the density. There's no variance relief we're seeking for these homes. It is a lengthy review letter. We have had a TRC meeting with them, and there are some technical things that we are going to have to address. I think where the difference of opinion comes shortly is about stormwater management. So we wanted to let the board know that we're not asking for additional houses on this property. We're not asking for too big of homes. The layout of the subdivision, the road and the lots are all conforming and compliant. So we just wanted to open that real quick. It's the design that's before you on Exhibit A2 right now is substantially compliant with the underlying zoning. There will be other items that we go through from a technical standpoint, but whether we agree or disagree on the stormwater management won't change the layout of the road, the 18 lots that we're looking to do here. So jumping right into A2, this is a 19-lot subdivision, but only 18 homes are proposed. Because in the northwest corner of the property, like Mr. Posada said, it is encumbered by freshwater wetlands and other associated environmental features. So that portion of the site essentially is carved off from the rest of it. We are proposing those 18 houses, and like we mentioned earlier, the underlying zone is the R12 zone. Why the 12? Because your ordinance talks about a 12,000 square foot piece of property. Our site ranges from the smallest being 13,000 square feet up to as high as 25,000 square feet. Due, again, to the unique shape of the property, the 9 acres in size that we have, and then the road that we're trying to put in the middle of the site, you have different lot sizes throughout there. So one of the nice parts about the uniqueness of the shape of the property is, even though we have the 18 houses, we're greatly increasing the size of the land area for the future homeowners associated with it. And just to give a little bit more detail, 4 of those lots are about 13,000 square feet. 3 of those lots range from 14 to 17, and then 5 lots are 16,000 square feet, and then other 6 are between 18 and 20. So I give you that detail to go through that our lots are oversized in comparison to what the underlying zoning calls for. Every single one of our 18 lots with houses are compliant with the bulk standards, setbacks, landscape ratio, floor area ratio, and building height requirements that the underlying zone is contemplating. The max density, actually, for the R12 zone is 3 dwelling units per acre. The plan that's before you on Exhibit A2 is only 1.8 units per acre. Why? Uniquely shaped parcel. There's a little bit of encumbered areas in the rear, and this applicant is looking to design a nice facility that can attract maybe a different type of buyer because it's a bigger plot of land that you don't see so often in this part of Old Bridge. Overall, the house sizes range from about 2,700 square feet to 3,600 square feet, depending on the lot and the configuration of the model. And again, we provided a 50-foot RSIS compliant right-of-way, starting from Green Street and coming up and curving through the 9 acres. It's a 30-foot paved cartway that allows parking on each side of the road should you have guests or visitors there, and also has a 2-way in each direction. In addition to that, because we have that 50-foot RSIS right-of-way, we do have sidewalks on both sides of the property. When it comes to a grading and drainage standpoint, there's some decent elevation on site. Basically, there's about elevation 40 at the Green Street driveway entrance, and it continues to drop in elevation, which makes sense towards the northern part of the site. That's where the wetlands and the floodplain are. That's about elevation 23. So topography, again, gradual from south, right by Green Street, up north towards the environmental features. Each lot also has what we call a dry well or a seepage pit that takes the clean roof runoff and puts it right back into the groundwater table. There are 3 above-ground stormwater management facilities. They are what we call infiltration, small-scale, sand basin bottom stormwater management facilities. And these fully comply with the New Jersey state standards and regulations, the BMP method, and they hit all 4 prongs of stormwater: green infrastructure, groundwater recharge, quality, and quantity. In addition to running the 2 10 and 100-year storm events for the quantity, we also have to model for the projected storm event for the year 2100. That's the recent law that came out in 2023 that is basically looking for a factor of safety to protect development and future climate change that comes along with maybe more intense storms within New Jersey. Utilities, so gas and electric already within Green Street. We'll be connecting and utilizing that for our 18-lot subdivision. We are proposing a 6-inch water service. The fire department asked for an additional hydrant. Our plans currently show 2. Their review letter says 3. We're happy to comply and provide that additional unit that the fire marshal requested. As well as we got our preliminary review from the Old Bridge Municipal Utilities Authority. And they basically advised that the water service in Green Street may be at capacity. So they asked us to upgrade it to either an 8 or a 12-inch. They'll tell us what that is, and we won't dictate that. And we're going to extend that from Vanover Drive up Green Street to tie into our development, and we've already advised that we'll be doing that. It's about a 500 linear feet public improvement. Lastly, we will be proposing a brand-new 8-inch sanitary sewer main that comes up through the spine of our new roadway, but then ties back into Green Street. Lighting plan is pretty straightforward. It's 15 street lights, very standard, compliant with our public RSIS standards. And then just to jump a little bit into your board professionals' recommendations, we did have a lengthy TRC meeting. We have reviewed the review letters. The 2 things we want to advise that we want to incorporate from their recommendations and review letter. The first one, which is an easy one, they asked for a different type of fence around the stormwater basin. Our plans call for chain link. They talked about possibly a split rail with a black mesh fence. I agree it's a more aesthetically pleasing fence. We're happy to do that. The second one, which was a great recommendation, and we absolutely want to incorporate it, right at the beginning of our entrance, right on Green Street, the land currently is only 50 feet wide. So we're going to convert that 50 feet now to a public right-of-way per RSIS standards. And as you know, there's 2 existing houses on each side of that little tail that comes into the 9 acres. And it was your board professional's recommendation, instead of doing a full cart width of 30 feet, which then leaves only 10 feet on each side because it's a 50-foot wide right-of-way, really leaving only about 5 to 6 feet of buffering to those 2 existing houses that are there. Why don't we reduce the cart width? And I thought it was a great recommendation because we don't need to park cars on that little length of the roadway. We do have our residents and our neighbors, our future neighbors to the right and left of us. So what we're going to do, it's not on A2, but it was a recommendation in your professionals letter. We're going to shrink down the pavement area so that we can increase the buffering to both our residents to the right and to the left. So those are 2 things we just wanted to throw in our direct testimony that we're absolutely happy to do. And that is a very high-level summary of the existing conditions on Exhibit A1. Our proposed plan on Exhibit A2 talks about, again, the 19 lots, 18 houses, and a 50-foot RSIS compliant right-of-way coming through the overall property. And I think that, I'm sorry, let me touch on a little bit of landscaping.
Before you do that, just because I'm taking notes, I don't know if I missed it. You said you were reducing the cart width. What are you reducing it to?
I'm going to refer back to Mr. Darge. You could drop it down to 20. That's the smallest you can go for RSIS. If you want to maybe make it 22 or 24.
I think we have to consult with the fire official first before we commit to
I
that.
just didn't know if you testified to it and I missed it in my notes. So.
At the very least, you can go down to 28, which isn't a whole lot. But we also talked about eliminating sidewalk from both sides as well. So we could limit it to sidewalk on one side of the road, reduce the width as much as we can within the fire marshal's guidelines. That would provide some additional space for buffering should the board act favorably on the application. But there's quite a few other things that I think we need to talk about.
Excuse me, you've mentioned about 5 or 6 times RSIS. Could you explain for the public watching and in the audience what that abbreviation is for?
Absolutely. Good question, Mr. Chairman. RSI stands for Residential Site Improvement Standards. Essentially, at some point, the city of New Jersey said in order to standardize what type of residential developments, whether it's single-family subdivisions, townhouses, garden apartments, et cetera, they didn't want to have all 564 municipalities in New Jersey having slightly different standards for these residential. So essentially, it's a state guideline and regulations that dictate parking spaces, roadways, curbing, drainage, everything that goes along with the public infrastructure improvements associated with residential.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for forgetting landscaping. It is the best part of the project. So we are obviously clearing land to develop the parcel. And in doing so, though, we do want it to be aesthetically pleasing because this is going to be somebody's home, an extension of the Green Street neighborhood. So a few just different items. We have 10 different types of shade trees, so at 126 total shade trees that we'll be planting. We have another 5 different type of varieties of ornamental trees. That will be 85 total trees. And then we have another 52 plants for evergreen trees. And beyond that, over 330 shrubs spread throughout the entire property. So about 160 new trees being planted throughout the neighborhood, both on the sides of the houses, along the street, of course, and then the back perimeter for buffering standards, and then another 337 shrubs again for future aesthetic landscaping planting. Now I believe that's a good pausing stop from summary of A1 and A2 that we've had so far. You may proceed. Any questions so far, Mr. Chairman? Or
Are you completed yet? Or,
just to direct before I get into the review letters.
oh, no, proceed.
Okay. So we did receive 2 review letters from the municipality. One is from ERI and is signed by a host of different consultants, planning, engineering, traffic, landscape, architecture, et cetera. We did then receive an Old Bridge MUA review letter as well as a fire district review letter. Go ahead.
I just think that we should first discuss the design, the concept, the questions that we have before you get into the review letter. We have discussed at length among us professionals the review letter. But if there are questions and concerns that we professionals have on the design or specific layout, then I think we should talk about it first before you get into the technicalities of the review memo. And I think that would help address even Eric's comment that if there are questions about redesigning, why are we even hearing? I think it's important that the board hears those questions and concerns, right?
If we're going to go into the board questions, then, Board Chairman, may I first ask questions of my professional?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Just a couple of quick questions, just to wrap up what you were saying.
Sure.
We're not getting into the reports just yet. My first question I have for you is, and I apologize for it being elementary, but did you review the municipality zoning requirements?
Yes.
Did you also review those zoning requirements in parallel with their stormwater requirements?
Yes,
And did you also have an opportunity to review the state stormwater requirements?
I did.
Now, regarding either the municipality or state requirements themselves, are there any prohibitions against stormwater basins being on single-family parcels?
No.
Okay. I know it's not the engineer's responsibility, I know it's my responsibility, but would you say in your professional experience that it's customary for HOAs to address those potential issues so that, quote-unquote, homeowners will know what they're buying before they buy because those HOAs are attached to those deeds?
Absolutely.
Terrific. Just a few more questions. Regarding the site itself, it's in the R12 zone, right?
Correct.
And as you elegantly put, the 12 is not because it's a 12 zone, but rather because it's 12,000 square feet is the minimum lot size. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
Now, the actual proposed lots that would be hosting the stormwater basin, that is what? Lot 1329, 1328, and 1327, is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And those lots, would you say range anywhere between 4,000 to 6,000 additional square feet than what is permitted, other than 12,000 square foot requirement?
Yes.
Or in another way of putting it, are they anywhere in range of an extra 33% to over 50% of what the requirement is?
That is correct.
And was this design intentional to compensate for this proposed basin itself?
It was.
And I know you were very enthusiastic for talking about landscaping, I believe. Is it also your testimony tonight that there would be an adequate buffer between the single-family home and the basin itself to compensate for that view shed?
Absolutely.
Terrific. I have no further questions for this witness at this
Okay.
time.
Okay,
Actually, Mr. Chairman, just following up on that question, because I didn't know, maybe once again, I might have missed the testimony, 'cause I'm taking notes, but when you were asking questions, you're asking about with the stormwater and HOA, was there testimony that there will be an HOA for this development?
We were going to get into it, but yes, there would be an HOA. There would not only just be a homeowners association, just to provide a little color to that acronym. We would also be doing a DCCR, which stands for Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions. Those items would address any and all questions, duties, obligations, and responsibilities for the stormwater basin, including creating a fund that each homeowner would have to pay into in the event that there was any issues with maintenance and operation, so that such responsibility could not and would not fall on the municipality.
And will the I understand that the testimony is it's going to be covering the stormwater. Will it also be covering the roadway? Or is that the intention that that's going to be dedicated to the township?
It's my understanding that would be dedicated back to the township, unless I hear otherwise.
Okay, Vina, do you have any questions? Or,
I can start if.
okay,
Okay.
go ahead, Mr. Darcy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Seawald had mentioned, there are quite a few issues that we've had that we did discuss at a very lengthy and enthusiastic or animated, spirited meeting that we had to review the plans. Danny, do you have the plan sets? Can you bring up sheet number either 7 or 10? Let's do. I guess you can do 10. I think that might illustrate some of the concerns that we have. And I'm not at all disputing what the state regulations are and what the requirements are, but it's a little washed out on our screen, I guess, but my screen is very vivid. There's a, there we go. So there we go. So the concerns that we have really have to do with the encumbrances on these properties and the practical developability of some of these lots, right? So it's not a simple matter of we don't like basins on private properties. It really has to do with practicality, has to do with future maintenance, has to do with homeowners in the future basically having encumbrances on the property that that they were, I'm sure, aware of, that they signed all the legal documents, but then they come to me, Vina, and Nicole to basically solve their woes. Particularly, you have this drainage basin in the rear of these 3 lots. These lots are oversized. I do agree. It's 12,000 square feet is what the requirement is, and they are oversized. The issue we have, though, is encumbrance on those properties, and homeowners basically encroaching into the lot, and also permitting long-term maintenance. And is the HOA going to hire someone to mow those lots? How's that going to work? And is there a maintenance company that comes out, and all that? And then there's also, this is really awkward with this microphone. I'm just going to yell. So, there we go. There we go. This one's longer. Thanks, Tim. So the concern, again, has to do with practical encumbrance on these properties. Take, for instance, you have this lot where you have a drainage easement that crosses really across the middle of their front yard. There's a dog leg in the property line, which I'm sure was done to get the required lot width for this property. But then that causes this easement to cross through their front yard into the basin. You have an easement here that straddles this side yard, and the problem with these easements, we're experiencing this issue right now with the Hovnanian development, where residents want to build fences, but when you have pipes in the middle of these easements, they can't build fences, and then we have concerns from residents about that, and then the practical difficulty as far as developability issue comes up on this lot and this lot, where even 13.30 as far as being squeezed. This one in particular, we defer to the fire official, but you're basically, this is a hard line right here. That's the wetlands buffer. So you're clearing right up to this line. The house is maybe 5 feet off of that line. From a practical constructability standpoint, I don't see how that gets built. On the other side of it, you have an easement that's, again, maybe 4 or 5 feet off of that line. From a practical constructability standpoint, I don't see how that gets built or maintained. And then you have a drainage basin that's within these easements here, again, encumbering these properties. The owner of this property basically has this area as their own property, and then this area is encumbered with an easement. Then you have this no man's land back here, which I guess they could put a beach volleyball court back here. But again, there's encumbrances. Then you have the same sort of issue with encumbrances on these back properties, encumbrances along here. It's basically one of those issues where it's great on paper. it's permitted by law, but then at the end, when houses are built, it winds up being a township council problem, a township engineering problem.
So I just want to chime in because I heard Josh and even Mr. Posada say that it was my suggestion to have 18 lots, right? Just to give you a background, this application was in front of the zoning board with much higher density. And when that 18 lot subdivision or discussion came up, it was more like, why don't you go back to the underlying zone with our 12 standards? Why don't you create lot sizes? It was pure math that I did to come up with those 18 lots. The challenge here is that not all of, I agree, there are no variances, and all the, on the lot size, there are no variances. There are lots that are larger than 12,000 square feet. But do you really have that much of usable yard space? You don't. And in the last few years, especially with the Oaks development, with the Ryan Homes and Poor Farm Road, we have had many challenges where these homeowners expect that they have this yard space. For example, the two houses on the cul-de-sac, they have the wetlands next to them. These homeowners start clearing land in those areas. They start using the open space. So more recently, we have been asking developers to put a fence there so that nobody can encroach. If you look at the fire chief's memo, he too raises concerns about those two homes because there is no side yard. So even if you have on paper, and that's the difference, right? On paper, you can have larger lots, but do those lots have usable space? The ones with the stormwater basin, they are large lots, but once you take into account the stormwater basin or the fence that goes around, you may not have that much rear yard space. So in technicality, yes, you're meeting the ordinance standards, but are you really creating those usable spaces? And I have a problem with that because now again, look at the stormwater basin to the bottom of the page. That those two homes, they really don't have any side yard space. And my concern is, why not reconfigure it so that every home that is created has a usable open space? Those easements that straddle on two property lines, they've become a nuisance now because everybody in Oaks One development wants to put up a fence. And what happens with that is we don't allow any fences in the easement. It creates a sliver in between. Who's going to maintain that sliver? So it becomes a challenge unless those easements are moved on one lot and the property owner on the sales map, because I sign off on the sales map. If the sales map clearly shows that this is an easement, you cannot put something here, the homeowner or the buyer, new buyer is fully aware then that that is not his usable open space.
So you finish?
For now.
Okay. Okay. Anybody to my right have a question?
I have a unique perspective, just like they do, being the sitting councilman that sits up here, where, especially looking at the ones that have the piping that goes on either side, folks are going to want to put fences in. You have a 3,000 plus square foot house, you're going to put a fence in. You're going to attempt to put a paver patio, you're going to probably want to put a pool, right? Yes, you're going to hand somebody a 100-page sales document, and they're not going to read it. Just the way it is. And then it's going to come back to us, and then it becomes a problem. And it will become a problem now for 18 families that are looking to move in here, right? There's a lot of encumbered space, like Vina and Rakesh was saying. There are two properties that probably cannot even be built. You could smile, but to put a house 3 feet away from the encumbered space, how can we rationally put that in? And then someone is going to be like, well, I didn't realize that, right? There's a lot. This really needs to be relooked at, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of Listen, I understand there are a fair number of people here. We rarely ever get folks coming to zoning boards unless the neighborhood surrounding it is not in favor. Understanding that that this is a private piece of property, and yes, something will be built, but it has to be built in the right way. And quite frankly, this will cause a problem, but even the 50-foot buffer. So we're gonna have internal sidewalks, but then no sidewalk coming out onto Green Street. So how does that doesn't connect the neighborhoods, right? How close are we then to those people's side yards within that 50-foot coming in, right? So now that's encumbering on their space that they have today. There's a lot of different things that I see that probably this does need to be readdressed, because every house here will want a fence. Maybe not in the rear, but there are a number of houses, like even the ones that have like on the top portion of this page, nothing can be built back there. The usable space is almost next to nothing in comparison to the size of the lot. Because you're taking the lot size in the backyard down by half, at least based off of what I see, and some of them even more. There's a lot of unusable space. Folks are gonna build in there, then without getting permits, and I understand that's not your problem, right? But that is our problem that we have to look at, right? Because if there is not enough space to put a patio and someone puts it because of the impenetrable space ordinances that we have, they're not gonna be able to put the large patios that they want. They're not gonna be able to put the outdoor kitchens that they want, a pool, sauna, whatever they want back there. The spacing, there's maybe 2 or 3 lots that I would say, yes, you could do it on, based off of what I'm seeing now. And I think on a piece of paper, it's one thing, but in practicality, it's another. The one development that they were talking about, there was a lot of different issues going on with that one development. And it all goes back to, yeah, but it was disclosed. You know, those documents, yes, people should read them, but there's a lot of things within here that I've never seen in the years that I've been up here, putting a stormwater basin on multiple properties, right? And then it being maintained by the HOA. So every time something has to get done there, you have to get permission from 1 or up to 3 individuals here to actually go and maintain the stormwater. So there's a lot of different things in here. I don't even know where to start. Which is why I brought it up earlier. We have a memo saying that it needs to be redesigned, and we've never heard anyone come up here and try to convince us otherwise.
Okay, Mr. Renner?
Yeah, I mean, really, just to add on to what Eric just indicated, I think we start back with the 2 groups getting together with the professional planner, coming up with a plan that we're agreeable on, so we could review it and then lend support to that, not bypassing that step. It doesn't work that way.
Mr. Board Chairman, if I may interject, I just want to answer some of their commentaries. We intend on proceeding forward with this application here tonight, and it's not out of disrespect by any stretch of the imagination, but rather just trying to work in partnership with this municipality. What I'd like to bring to the attention of this board is the fact that I understand, given past experience, you would prefer a redesign. But pursuant to the letter of the law, what the ordinances are in place are what we have to comply with, design, and move forward with. And that is the intended reason of the time of application rule, which is a statutory rule, so that there is no moving target. Now, again, I want to emphasize, I understand the concerns, and so does my client, and so do my professionals. So we do intend on moving forward with this land use hearing tonight to hear the commentary of the board, but I want to let you know that although there might be holes being poked, when you're not adhering to the letter of the law, you can poke holes all day long, right? Because you're not following the rules and regulations that my clients had to follow when proposing this land use application. And what I want to bring to light real quick is the actual law itself and the statutes. I hate being a lawyer, but unfortunately I am a lawyer, so I guess I got to be the guy to say it. The first one is Jersey Shore versus Jackson, where the court said, when a municipality or subdivision thereof acts outside of its delegated powers, its actions will be considered ultra vires and void. Another case says, a planning board has no authority to deny a site plan based on its view that a use permitted under the zoning ordinance is inconsistent with principles of sound zoning. Now, from the commentary that we've heard thus far, and also in the professional reports, that's exactly what it is, at least from our interpretation, that based on prior experience and the experience of the board professionals, they would prefer a different zoning route, okay? And we hear you, and that's why we're here tonight, to have hopefully reasonable conditions on the application that we can address to move forward. But again, you have to understand, not just statutorily, but based on case law, we are allowed to move forward with the ordinance in place today. And those ordinances cannot be manipulated based on preference. And the last thing I'll say is it doubles down on the statute itself, NJSA 4055D-25. This is a municipal land use law, which we all know has jurisdiction over these types of applications. And in one case in a roundabout, they essentially said, the power of the planning board is limited to determining whether the development proposal conforms with the municipal zoning ordinance and the applicable provisions of the site plan ordinance. That is all. So when considering this application, I would just like to remind this board of the letter of the law, both statutorily and case law. But at the same time, too, we hear you. We hear your board professionals. We understand we have to be practical, and we need to understand that we all have to work together, which is why I wanted to get ahead of the curve a little bit when I did my direct to my board professional, or my professional, not board professional, that'd be a conflict, that we are going to do an HOA. We are going to do a declaration of covenants and restrictions. And when you do such a document, you can ensure that the money is ponied up. You can ensure that the developer is there for the whole entire route, or journey, I should say, until the last parcel is sold. So between myself, if this board found favorable, but between myself, the planning board attorney, and the municipal attorney, we can give all the assurances to avoid what seems to be in the past, the unavoidable, okay? Those can be addressed. They can be addressed in the HOA and the DCCR, which are private contracts between the homeowner and the developer, both of which outside the jurisdiction of this board, but absolutely can be a condition of approval to run through both the DCCR and HOA with the board professionals.
So, Joe, I have a question for you. And it's in reference to Mr. Posada's statement. Isn't a side yard, although you technically meet a side yard requirement, you don't have accessible side yard? Isn't that a safety concern? The whole purpose of having side yards or rear yards or yard space is for the health, safety, and benefits of the people. When your side yard is encumbered with wetlands or a stormwater basin and you don't have access to that yard space for fire separation, you don't have access for, you don't have emergency access, isn't the safety itself questionable? So although technically you're meeting the zoning ordinance requirement, you're really not meeting the intent of municipal land use law or why a yard space is required?
Well, to answer your question, it depends on how the ordinances are drafted. It depends on how the township's ordinances are drafted as to the purpose and intent of the side yards. If you just have, to bluntly answer the question, if it just, the municipal ordinance just says you have a side yard, defines the side yard between the building and the property line, and the side yard has to be 15 feet, well, then that's it. But if there's more to the ordinance that explains the purposes and intent of that, why that side yard is needed, maybe specific to a zone, then yes, what you're saying does apply. But I just want to point out a couple things also in response to Mr. Posada was, I don't disagree legally with what you stated. I think some of I want to clarify for my board, with regard to the time of application rule, that really is not about anything you do. That's stopping municipality governing bodies from adopting ordinances that will change in between the time of the application. You still get to interpret and apply the existing ordinances to the application based upon the application as you deem appropriate. That does not, I don't want to think that you're not allowed to view these applications and determine whether you agree with the applicant. The applicant's providing testimony saying that I'm compliant and this is how I'm compliant. If you disagree, you can disagree. But, and you, if your professionals disagree, you can rely on their testimony. But I just want to clarify that point, that the time of application is just saying that the governing body, the municipality itself, can't adopt an ordinance that will change it. They're allowed to rely on the ordinances, but the interpretation and application of the ordinances are within your purview. I just also want to clarify, because I understand that this application is not an as-of-right application under what legal terms we use in the land use area, but it does actually require some C variances. I understand right from the start you classified them as de minimis, but whether they're de minimis or not, a variance is a variance, and it's the board's determination of whether or not you meet the requirements to make those variances. And if you are seeking variances and exceptions from the ordinance, then the board can require certain conditions that are applicable for in connection with those variances. I don't think we've heard any testimony yet, unless I missed it, as to what those variances are. So I can't say whether some of the concerns by the board professionals or that's been raised by the board members so far are applicable to those or not. But I can say that, that is something that this board still has the ability to consider. And just to clarify as well, the applicant's attorney is correct. It's their application. If they want to go, they can absolutely ignore every, not saying that they are, but they could theoretically ignore every comment of the board and every comment from the board's professional and just proceed with their application as they filed it. That's their prerogative, and the board, will respond accordingly if they don't think it is compliant with the ordinance or they think it is, based upon all the information that gets presented during the public hearing and the documents that are submitted. The board can't say no when the applicant can't proceed because they're not compliant, but it can raise that concern, which it did, and make that recommendation, but ultimately it's the applicant's determination as to whether or not they want to proceed or not with their application.
So, Joe, I just want to bring it up. Section 250-49A of our ordinance, which talks about application of yard regulations, specifically says that every part of the required minimum yard shall be open and unobstructed from its lowest level to the sky. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
When I said it was in general comment, but I haven't actually looked specifically as to what we're talking about here in this particular zone with regard to that purpose, but I will do so.
Yes, yes,
If it would
to the sky.
please the board and the professionals, would love to answer some of these questions. So first and foremost, the ERI review letter is over 100 comments. We are happy to comply with 90 of them. So even though there's a lot of requests in here, technically, and items, and I know we haven't gone through it yet, but we're already jumping in, so let's jump in. We're going to address and agree to almost 90 of the 100 comments that your professionals requested of the applicant. I think what we're focused on right now is a few of the items that Mr. DePalma and Ms. Vino just went through. So I'd like to address them if I can. Starting with the easiest one, because I like to eat the meat and the potatoes first and leave my broccoli for last. The easements that are on the property lines, that is no problem. We can shift them to one lot. And I do agree with Vina that based on the way that Old Bridge runs, the easements that straddle property lines and you create like an alley of a difficult area, you can just take that easement, which has an underground pipe, and just move it onto one lot. That way you don't have this alley. And then if anyone wants to put a fence to separate their lot from their neighbor, you can absolutely do that. So I think that's an easy one to address some of those concerns. Second, every subdivision has easements and encumbrances. Why? Because topography changes on every single site, and you need pipes, whether it's sanitary sewer or stormwater management, to cut through certain lots of land. Not every lot has one, but over every subdivision that you do, there will be some type of easement that you need to be able to traverse underground piping. And yes, on a plan, you see a lot of these lines, these easements that are going between the lots. But in reality and pragmatically, you're just going to see sod. You're not going to see the limits of these easements. And the reason why you put them in between the houses in the side yard is because that's where you want your utilities to go. You typically don't ever have a structure there. You don't have the pool, the patio, you don't have the swing set. So that's actually the location that you want to have that. So I think that's an easy one to address. The second one is stormwater management. Every development project has a stormwater basin. The item that me and Mr. Dargy are going back and forth with was, for decades, townships took jurisdiction over stormwater basins. Only until recently is it now an HOA. So before, when a stormwater basin would be designed for any type of development project, you would put that basin in a separate lot. Why? Because it then got dedicated to the township to then maintain it. We're not doing that here. We're going to create an HOA that governs and manages all the stormwater management. So we put this basin to the north side, and then this basin to the west side in an easement. To a property owner, whether that is a boundary line or an easement line, it's still an invisible line when you're out there in the field. So we specifically designed this site to accommodate that these houses on the end of the cul-de-sac to be much larger, because I do agree with Mr. Palma. We don't want to have, say, a 12,000 square foot lot for the zoning and then encumber it and kill the backyard. But that's not what we did here. Each one of these lots range up to 25,000 square feet. So yes, we are encumbering what could be backyard area, but there's still a large backyard for what the R12 zone would have contemplated. If this was an R30 or an R40 and we were leaving these residents with almost nothing, I totally understand the position. It was our design intent before this exchange this evening, and when we designed this thing many months ago, we knew we needed stormwater. We chose to put it in an easement because that's going to be easier for us to manage with the HOA, and we left large enough backyard so you still could do, sir, the patio, and you could still do the pool. Now, that stormwater basin is going to have a fence around it. So there's not going to be an encroachment into that basin. It's also a hole in the ground. So you're not going to mistakenly put a structure, a pool cabana, or a swing set. So from a stormwater standpoint, the request was make it a separate lot. That's a redesign, in our opinion, and I think it doesn't change any aspect of the site, because a separate lot, which then would be dedicated to the HOA, still is going to be located in that location. Why is it over there? It's the lowest point of the site, and that's where the soils can support the stormwater basin. So regardless of whether it's a dedicated lot or an easement, the basin's going to be over there. But we ensured that, specifically on the northern side, these three houses had enough backyard to be able to utilize what they would see in the R12 zone. Same thing over here on the R6. We have on the edge of a cul-de-sac pie-shaped pieces, much bigger lots. So we said, let's put another basin over there so that this person doesn't necessarily have this huge property. Fair and equitable sizing across the entire subdivision. If Rakesh or Vina said, hey, listen, we want a little bit more space between these two houses, it's a polygon. I can manipulate a little bit. We can do that. That is not something that we were going to hardline stand against. We just wanted to be heard from the applicant's standpoint. We simply chose an easement instead of a separate lot. But in reality, it's an invisible line that no one's going to see, and you're not going to encumber that because it's a hole in the ground. It is very common in almost all new subdivisions. You're going to have some type of stormwater basin, and they're going to back up to somebody's house. Side of the house, behind the house, it's just the way that we design residential. And in regards to the side yard and these couple lots over here, I do want to advise the board that that line is the buffer to the wetlands. It is not the actual wetlands. So that line isn't a structure. You still have a side yard. It just has some trees in there. So you are allowed to walk through it. You just can't disturb it, put a patio in it, put a house in it. So it's not that you don't have access to it. It's actually a nice natural buffer. Now, again, if there were some substantial concerns that maybe the building was too close to it, maybe I can shift it around. Maybe I pick a different model for that house. But in my professional opinion, those two lots have a different feature if you want to be close to wetlands and the streams, because that's a tree area. You can walk there. It's usable. You just can't build anything in it. You can't clear the land. You can build a house next to it. You just can't mow down those trees. So we wanted to come tonight sincerely because it is a big review letter. We didn't want the board to think that we were saying no. We're saying yes to 90 of the 100 comments. But the thought and the design, we wanted you to hear where we came from and how we laid it out. And we think practically it's going to function the same. We're talking about invisible lines between boundaries and easements. And it was a great suggestion, like I started with, take the easement that straddles the lines, which is a little bit more old school design, move it onto one lot, no problem at all. Everybody can have a shared fence, and we'll call that a day. If your professionals or you guys want to manipulate the shape a little bit of the stormwater basin, I can also do that. But in the general location of where these basins are going to go are just based off of topography and stormwater management. Thank you, Mr. Posada.
I just have a couple questions for you regarding
Go ahead.
the testimony you just delivered.
Sure.
Specifically, let's talk about side yard setbacks themselves. Regarding the side yard setbacks for either a buffer setback or a property line setback, are we proposing any improvements within those setbacks?
None.
And are there any obstructions that are existing there?
Nope.
And for all intents and purposes, would someone be able to walk back and forth?
Yep.
Okay, and then as regarding the commentary towards the fence, do you think it would be acceptable to our client that we would propose these existing single-family homes with the fence just to address that issue?
That's not a problem.
Okay, and just one more time to reiterate, the reason why we have the site location for the stormwater right there is not based on per se design that you had the liberty to select, but rather stormwater and more importantly, gravity. Thank you, I have no further questions.
Okay, are our professionals finished?
So,
Oh, Mr. Darcy?
if I
go
may,
ahead.
just real quick, I think the ordinance says that the side yard should be unencumbered, right? Isn't that what it said? Yeah, unencumbered, so unobstructed. So, and again, I understand what you're saying as far as trees and people being able to walk through. There's also accessibility for fire and things like that. So to have a wood line within 20 feet, there's definitely is a safety concern for that. But that's just one concern. With regard to the easement in the back, again, we're not disputing that. I think the main reason why the applicant, this is just my guess, I've designed my fair share of these kind of developments as well. The main reason why I would want an easement here as opposed to making it a separate lot, because really the lots are large enough for the most part where you could create a separate lot back here for the basin, but you don't want to do that because then this then becomes the rear yard line, and then you have to do a 45-foot setback from that line, and that obviously severely inhibits your building envelope. Understood. That's the main reason why I think we wouldn't want to do that. But the concern really is, and I still have this concern. I understand it'll be fenced. We've had issues, and I get it as far as the practical design. This from a practical standpoint, this is a problem because we have issues with people encumbering these or basically either cutting openings into the fences and actually using them. I told you guys during our meeting, I live in a similar kind of neighborhood. I have a neighbor that does athletic training for high school kids who lives right next door to the drainage basin. He just sets up shop in the basin with all of his athletic equipment, and they're throwing javelins and all kinds of stuff in the basins. And that's again a liability concern, a safety concern, and also a long-term maintenance concern and all that for these drainage basins. It would be obviously easier if it wasn't their property. More often than not, when people come and say, "Why can't I do this? It's my property. Do you know how much taxes I pay?" That's like rings in my head to the point where my ears bleed because that's what people say. This is my property. I don't care what the easement says. They don't understand easements. They understand property, and that's my concern. That's going to continue to be my concern. And we have the same concern regarding trees in the front yard as well. When we have trees and an easement in the front yard, people have no qualms with removing them. But when the trees are, between the sidewalk and the roadway, all of a sudden there are public trees and people don't remove them. It's the same sort of issue with the drainage basins that are within an easement on someone's property or on someone else's property, whether it's HOA or township property. That's my overarching concern regarding this issue.
And also, Josh, how can you say that the side yards are not obstructed? Like when you look at lot 13.33, 13.32, and 13.31, with the wetlands, we are going to ask you to push posts and signs there so that people cannot walk into those areas. We don't want people to be walking into those areas. Probably that would be a conservation easement. So there is going to be obstruction. When you're talking about the stormwater basin between 13.32 and 13.33, we are going to require a fence there around the stormwater basin. It is an obstruction in the side yard. A fire chief will not have access. You have looked at the fire chief's letter. He points out those 3 lots. And where I'm getting at is, on paper, you can create 18, 19 lots. But are you creating usable space around those homes is the question. It is the intent. I'm not arguing in terms of the ordinance. You meet the ordinance requirements for majority of the lot size requirements. However, it becomes a problem. And when I say it becomes a problem, I'm very serious, because in the last 2-3 years, the amount of complaints that we have got is unbelievable. And once the developer builds it and sells it off, it is not his problem. In the past, we have a thick package for the sales map before we sign off on I sign off on the sales map. We created these documents for conservation easement, utility easements. We make sure that before we issue the final CO, the property owner signs it. Regardless, nobody reads it. And then suddenly it becomes our problem. You have no idea how many homeowners in the new Hovnanian development are fighting with the zoning officer for the fences. Eric has called me numerous times on it. So it's not about creating conforming lots on paper. You have to be cognizant of the fact that these homes are going to be sold for a higher price. Looking at the housing prices now, these homeowners later on come to us. I mean, I would have even concerns about the road being ours. It's a project, and I think it should be a private road, but it's just my opinion. And Casey is right here, who is in charge of maintaining public roads, and I would let him chime in on that. But I mean, I get your argument, and I understand the legalities of it, but these are some practical concerns that we have and have been experiencing in the past, which need to be addressed. You cannot just overlook them, right? And addressing those concerns, I'll be very blunt, you might lose a lot or two, but then you're creating more safer developments.
So,
Are you finished, Fida?
I yield.
For now.
Okay, okay. Eric, any comments?
I haven't said anything yet.
Okay. Oh, I just wanted to give.
I have a question. I think Casey wanted
Okay, go ahead, Case.
First things first, I'm going to try to go through memory. I wrote some notes. Green Street was recently repaved, so we have a moratorium on the road. So if you guys do cut the road to, if you're approved, then you would have to pave full width, but we have to check the moratorium because we've been paving that, in smaller sections throughout the years. Then we'd spoken about narrowing the roadway. I believe once you narrow that roadway, that would be your roadway. It wouldn't be a township road after that. So we'd have to check with that. I would highly recommend that it was a private road, again, if it's approved. Then we move into stormwater. I've been with the Public Works Department for 18 years. I've been the director for over 5 years now. I've never seen a stormwater basin on private property that's going to be maintained by somebody else. The insurance liabilities are crazy. That doesn't work for me. And then you guys talk about these invisible lines. They're invisible until the resident wants a fence because their kids are going to run into the roadway. So that's a major concern. Got 3 kids of my own. You got to think of all these things. Then I saw one larger easement on the angle that cut across somebody's front yard. I'm assuming that would be the access point for maintenance?
Correct. We have different locations for that.
Yeah, so, that's the most direct point, or you're gonna go through everybody's backyard coming up. So when that basin needs maintenance, it's gonna be a bulldozer driving over somebody's front yard through their landscaping. So that invisible line's not invisible anymore. That impacts people. So I'm really surprised that we're even talking about this. I see storm basins next to houses. I see houses that are behind other houses, so their front yard's looking at their neighbor's side house. I see buffers they look feet away from the house. Safety concerns. Safety is one of my biggest things. So I know you said it started out at 90. We're gonna agree to 90, then it's almost 90. but I'm concerned about the 10 remaining, and I believe everybody up here is concerned about the 10 remaining. So I think, you know, our professionals are giving you some really good guidance that you guys should really think about.
Go ahead, Eric.
So, just to talk about, I know you talked about new trees going in and bushes. So within the letter, I know the exact word is that you're raising the property. Do you know how many trees that were currently taken down? Because I believe there's a number of heritage trees that are in good condition that I guess our forester is saying that should not come down. Do you know how many in total we're taking that you're looking to take down anyway in the raising of it?
Yeah, so give me 1 second, I'll pull up the plan. So we did a tree plan. It's sheets 5 and 6 of the record civil drawing set. Your tree ordinance is robust, so let me go through it. There are tree replacement calculations. There are exempt areas associated with those lots. Basically, you're allowed to, where you're gonna put the house and features that we talked about, patio, pool, that's exempt. And then due to building the road, grading, utilities, and stormwater, we do need to clear other portions of the land. And I'll read right off the plan to go through some of those calculations. Sorry, not the reference to the landscape plan. And then also Mr. Dargy's review letter, it goes through that we have 19 heritage trees that are in different conditions that are coming down associated with this development. I believe that was your question, right?
Well, do we know the total number? It's a wooded lot for the most part, right? So I mean,
If I may, Mr. Councilman, the other question we had also was, you have exempt areas, but then you're removing heritage trees outside of those exempt areas, basically superfluous removal of heritage trees.
Yeah, we're not deleting any trees for no reason. Any one of these trees that are on the property is due to grading purposes. So, you know, a lot of things go into putting together a plan set.
Yeah.
And of course, heritage trees are important. We're not deleting any heritage trees that aren't associated with the development of a road, which is required, not or grading associated, which is required, and then stormwater management as well. So there are 19 trees that are classified as heritage that are being eliminated. And then the landscape replacement plan, just total that up for you so you have it. We're planting 263 new trees. So 19 heritage.
I thought
trees.
you testified as 160.
So we have 126 shade, plus 85 ornamental, and 52 evergreen. 263 new trees are planted, 19 heritage trees are removed.
So
And I don't yet, please correct me if I'm wrong, we do not yet have an updated forest officer review letter.
Okay.
We're using a lot of the data from the 2024 application. At that time, he issued a forest review letter. We met on site with Gary to do the tree inventory. So I don't have a new update on his opinion of it, but everything has been clarified and classified with Gary.
So, go ahead.
The reason I was asking about the removal of the trees and how many are going back in, so obviously with Deep Run behind the property, right? What does the removal of that trees do to the management of the water coming from there? The wetlands that are back there, right? Trees soak up a lot of water, right? We're taking a lot of trees out and we're putting a lot of impervious land, right? With a big roadway, right? Big homes as well that are taking up a lot of space. That trees were once taking up some of that water that could be impeding onto Green Street and beyond, right? Has there been any calculation or any thought to what that will do, or how would you impede that from happening? Because I'm sure there's at least one or two people here worrying about how will that now affect my property from a wet perspective. I live below somebody, so I get all of their water, and I had to put a French drain system in my backyard at my own expense, so I understand what it could be. I could only imagine what it would be being off of Deep Run if we get a big piece of big storm come in, and I have personal in my family. My brother had a house in Manalapan that got flooded 4 different times, and he had to be bought by Blue Acres because of it, right? Because of the developments that happened. So I just want to make sure that we understand what's going on, because it's not only, I don't want to say I don't care about the 18 houses, but there's probably 50 to 60 houses right in front as well that might have an issue with now taking off all these trees.
It's a great question.
And the grading as well.
So from a stormwater management standpoint, I have to turn off my alarm. It's checking on my kids. Apologize for that. So stormwater management, great question. When we model stormwater, we have to model it on what the existing conditions are, which you're right. Most of this property today is woods. So the runoff coming from the property is very, very low. You're right, because trees soak up the water, right? And then New Jersey standards, Old Bridge standards says when you develop it, you have to model now the roads, the houses, and even grass, because grass has more runoff compared to trees. So you create the baseline, which is very low. And the state of New Jersey says for the 2, 10, and 100 year, you have to reduce the flow from the existing condition, not the proposed condition. So the water that's going to be coming off this site is going to be less in every storm event, every single one. And the way that you do that is with a basin that doesn't just hold the water, but infiltrates it back into the ground. So that's the quantity aspect. Groundwater recharge is the calculation that says type of soil and land use, which is woods right now and decent soils, how much water goes back into the ground. Then we have to provide in our stormwater report what our basins are putting back into the ground. We have to exceed the groundwater recharge calculation. So all of that has been accommodated and accounted for. In addition to Old Bridge, of course, reviewing and Rakesh, we also have to submit, of course, to the local soil conservation district, who rigorously reviews drainage, and they have already given us a permit, soil erosion sediment control certification. Now, they don't have jurisdiction over zoning, if it's an easement or a lot line, but they review our stormwater report, the drainage plan, and the soil conservation district details. So it's a very good question. I figured I would get some from the public when it came to that. But stormwater is completely handled. And like I mentioned earlier, in addition to the reduction for the 2, 10, and 100 year, in 2023, the governor at the time said, we want to protect future rainstorms, kind of like what happened to your brother's house going to Blue Acres. We're going to model this for rain that we think is going to happen in the year 2100. So there's a huge factor of safety on the stormwater basin at almost every level, and it has to drain within 72 hours at the same time. So after we collect it, hold it, and make sure that it's leaking either back into the ground or back into the stream, meeting today's standards, we have to meet it for a projected rainfall rate for the year 2100. So I think we're very clear that the stormwater will function well, and in theory, it's supposed to work better than what is out there today. It's a fair question.
Mr. Chairman, I just, we're getting close to 10 o'clock, and I know Mr. Posada said he wanted to reserve some time for the TICE application, so I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and figure out how we want to proceed at this point.
Yeah, I think we'd like to continue with the Green Street. Our hope is to at least get our planner on as well, so
Right.
considering that.
I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, because it's already 9:53.
Okay.
And testimony ends at
That's
10
it.
o'clock.
10 o'clock.
And we still have to open it to the public of this witness after the board's.
Understood. So let's just continue with Green Street.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Renner, any questions? To my left, any questions?
Nope, I'm sorry. So, looking at all this, the way that the property lines are and the way the houses are, and some of them have 3,000 square feet, some of them 2,700 square feet. At one of our last meetings that we had, a resident came up to the microphone and said, "Would you buy a house like that?" And I thought about it. And I said, wow, just thinking about would I put my family or my income or my hard working into a house that I couldn't use, property that I couldn't use, property that I was told I can't put a fence, I can't put a pool. Just think about it. That's one of the main objections that I see a lot of these faces out there, a lot of these people are nodding. You got to think about things like that. We at this council, at this board, have a huge responsibility to people in this township. And it's not like what you said before, well, you can't go on what happened or what's happening to that development, to that development. Yes, I could. I want to help the people here. So if I feel that something's not going to work a year from now, 5 years from now, I'm going to make it heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Casey?
So, Deep Run, again, Public Works, 18 years. I've seen that look like some of the roughest white water you would find in Colorado. And every year the storms, every resident just shook their head. We respond to those calls. Public Works isn't first responders. We're getting calls. We're flooded. We can't leave our house. We've brought wheel loaders to people's houses to help them. Camp Bethel, I can't remember in the 18 years if I've ever been there, but I'm pretty sure that we've been there to help people get out. Camp Bethel is what they currently call the compound there. So I know, the stormwater, again, I talked about it already being on private property, but I would venture to say a lot of these residents here tonight are going to tell you that this floods, and I know you're improving it and you have your stormwater and it's going to drain in 72 hours in theory, but Mother Nature's very tough, and all of a sudden we have emergency responders responding to houses that are flooding, and safety. I always worry about safety. So this another thing that we really need to consider when building so close.
Mr. Lenning, that's a great comment. I really appreciate you bringing it up. You are correct. 4 of the 6 houses today are in the riparian zone and in the 100-year floodplain. We are removing those 4 houses completely and restoring the riparian buffer back with trees. So you're absolutely correct. Those 4 houses, grandfathered, they've been there for many, many decades, probably before a time that we actually had flood mapping or accurate flood data, and those are completely being removed from the property. So that's a benefit. I couldn't agree with you more. Second, we do have a DEP flood hazard area verification. What that basically means is we submitted a package to the DEP and we said, this is Deep Run, right? Take a look at our topo, take a look at your mapping. This is where we think the 100-year floodplain is, this is where we think the floodway is, and where we think the riparian buffer is gonna be. They accepted that package and then gave me a permit to show that. So our plans completely stay out of the 100-year floodplain, completely stay out of the floodway, and completely stay out of their riparian zone. So all the development we're discussing tonight is further away from those areas, because I couldn't agree with you more. It does flood back there. Absolutely. And there's a decent stream. And one of the benefits of this project is you're removing 4 houses from that environmental encumbrance and restoring it back to what it should be, trees lining a stream, that's the riparian buffer. And then after that, you have a stormwater basin. And then after that, you have 3 more houses that are now multiple feet above the 100-year floodplain. So I appreciate you bringing that up because it is a real situation in the back of that property.
Okay, are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else, questions? Okay, we'll open it up to, oh, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, I just think it's a real problem area, and assigning a lot of these things to the HOA to not necessarily remedy, but contain or take care of or whatever, doesn't work, because the HOAs, are responsible for a certain amount, but it's just unrealistic, and it ends up being the township that, has to bail it out. And I just think we need to maybe relook at the zoning, and maybe it's just too dense for that area. And I think that there just seem to be a lot of issues with the easements and limited use of the space and so forth. It just doesn't make it a viable as proposed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public.
Board Chairman, before you do, can I just do a quick redirect for my witness?
Sure.
Thank you. Just 2 quick questions. Sure. Would you say it's absolutely fair and accurate to state that flooding is not just a concern of this community or the township, but also the state and nationwide?
Yeah, of course.
And is it your testimony today, from an objective standpoint and based on your civil engineer with all your experience, that the existing conditions today will be vastly improved with this proposed project?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll open up to the public. Anybody have questions for this witness? And keep it to questions, kind of like Jeopardy. Keep it as a question. And
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can, I like to make a statement before these. This, you will have a portion at the end of the application to make statements, provide testimony, whatever you want with regard to this application. At this time, it is limited to questions related to this witness relating to his testimony that he gave. So please, I know you're going to want to get up there and start to give testimony and tell what's conditions of your house and what your experience is. That's not at this time. That's for later on. At this time, it's just questions of the witness. Okay? Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Sardillo. No, you could,
I have a question about the variance C.
You're just going to state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Joanne Feaster. I am the property owner of 345 Green Street. Feaster, Feaster. And I am at the foot of that Green Street where the driveway comes in and that road is supposed to be. Two things I have a question on. On the variance C, is it called, right? There is that's for hardship, am I correct?
There are two types of variances. C1 is hardship. C2 is what we call flexible planning alternative.
Okay, and you are applying for what?
We haven't gotten to that testimony.
Well, can I just, for educational purposes, what is variance? What are you going for?
If I may, real quick.
Because
Mr. Seawald's also a licensed planner. Is that correct, Mr. Seawald?
I am.
Can I also have him put his credentials on the record for planning, so this way he can answer this question in totality?
Well, yes and no, but yes. I mean, she is asking a legal question and a planning question regarding what the different variances are. Either we can wait until, hold on, just let me finish. We can either wait until the planning testimony comes on, or if the applicant's willing to answer the question, we always want to make sure we get the public's questions answered. So that is acceptable as well. I think the question was this witness going to be your planner, or are they going to testify?
He's also a planner as well, so considering the time sensitivity, and we want to be able to adhere to the public, they've been sitting out here for multiple hours.
Yep.
I just thought that it would be appropriate to swear him in as a planner since he could put testimony.
Okay. I mean, Mr. Chairman, I don't have an issue with that, just so we can answer the question officially.
Yeah.
And so that the witness, the public gets their answer.
yeah, you could be sworn in.
Thank you. So I'm a licensed professional planner in New Jersey. License is current, valid, and standing.
Okay, you're accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just for the public and for the board, there is a project planner that intends to testify, right? And when you hear planning testimony, they go through everything. They subsume the civil engineer, attorney, traffic, and they have a big presentation. So I don't want to not answer your question.
no, it's a simple. Right now, it's just a simple answer, a question, really.
It's not simple.
No, I'm sorry. The question I have regarding what it states in the letter.
No, I know. So I'm trying to answer your question first.
Okay.
So explaining if it's a C1 or a C2 is not a simple yes or no, because you can make arguments of either one. And there's planning criteria that goes into whether you agree that it's a hardship or you agree that flexible planning, and I know the board knows this, but to just educate the public, flexible planning, there's a balance test.
Excuse me, sir. Thank you. There's a balance test, and you balance the negative aspect as well as the positive aspect. It doesn't mean that there's not any detriments. Sometimes there are detriments. The C2 flexible test and the balance test talks about, do the positives outweigh the negatives? And we haven't heard that yet from our project planner. So I want to answer your question that there are C1s, there are C2s. It could be argued that some of these are C1s, some of them are going to be C2s.
Okay. So, but the mouth of this coming off Green Street, this is a residential road. It's not a county road. It's not a collector road. It's not anything like that. So you're proposing 18 houses coming out of Green Street, in Green Street, out. There's no other access at all.
Correct, right? This is a uniquely shaped property, right? That falls into more of the uniqueness. When we talk about C1 hardship, it talks about is there unique criteria to a property? Are there unique topographic aspects to a property? This property only has 50 feet of frontage
Right.
that ties into Green
Completely
Street.
different from the normal in the neighborhood, correct?
No, the right-of-ways are still 50 feet.
No, the houses, the frontage of the house. That's out of the norm of our community in our neighborhood.
I would not say that's out of the norm. You have multiple intersections. Second Place and Green Street was very close by, where you have a corner lot that's along Green Street. So
If that was to be a corner lot, according to here, I have 2 feet, maybe 3 inches from that right now where that starts. From my property to that, it's 2 feet. It's not 5 feet, it's not 10 feet. So where are you going, and no sidewalk, so where are you gonna encroach on my property?
certainly not. So
Okay, so how are you gonna get that clearance when you have another house there and wooded area that has to be cleared, and you have a road coming in Second Place and a road coming from Vanover, and then this way?
are you on the right house or the left house? So
I'm in that house with 2.5 feet.
I meant
I'm on the right.
you're on the right. Okay,
I've been
so
there for 36 years.
and that's
36, I also am a property investor. 36 years worth.
I just want to answer your question. I promise you. So your house on the right. Today, there is a driveway, correct, that runs right along the property line. So I did not go on your
No,
property.
it's not on my property line, it's past the property line.
I promise, follow me real quick. So next to your property line, we have 50 feet. That is private property. That is the width from your house across our property is 50 feet wide, and then it hits your neighbor, essentially. Inside of that 50 feet, currently the plan is to pave 30 feet, leaving 10 feet on each side. So out there today is not woods in between your house and your neighbor's house. There's a long driveway to service the 6.
Historically, it was for a driveway, correct.
So this is similar. We're going to make it compliant with today's road design standards. But next to your house, I believe, is just a white fence, right? And then you have a little bit of grass area, and then the driveway today is right there. What we're proposing on this plan, Exhibit A2, in that same 50 feet, and it works well because RSIS says you need a 50-foot right-of-way, and we have exactly that. We're only going to pave 30 feet of it. And then what we talked about earlier in the evening with Mr. Dargy, we talked about, and it was his recommendation, reducing the pavement even further. We don't need a 30-foot wide driveway there because we don't need people parking on each side. He also made the recommendation you don't even need double sidewalks. That way we can leave as much landscaping as possible between your house and this road. And again, it's not a road like a county road or a major arterial. This is simply now an intersection, a corner lot, just like Second Place and Green Street right across the street. So now your house will have, in theory, 2 frontages instead of 1.
But I don't have space between my property line where I have my fence, corner lot. What do you consider a corner lot from my property? There's usually additional space 10 feet from the corner. That's not it. I have 2 foot 3 inches. That's it.
We're not changing your side lot. The exact real estate that you have today will be the same after
That's
this.
correct, but you're also creating that back and forth as, that was designed for an access road to the back. That's it.
And that's what we're doing for this, yeah.
No, but you're creating a 2-way street that's gonna have ongoing traffic. Trust me, I sit there. You have you just had UPS, you have all these people going down, it's traffic. And right behind me, you have, I don't know what the difference is, not even 15 feet before the next house. And that's the side of the house. I lose all what I bought the house for. That's number 1. Number 2, the traffic coming in and out right now is unbelievable. I had people today, the little boy traveling up and down behind the garbage truck on Green Street. Okay? You can't get out of my driveway with going back and forth, trying to find out where people are. They have a stop sign on Second Place, okay? They blow that stop sign and they make a swing and then they go in. I've had emergency vehicles go in, they come out, they go in, and they can swing back. It's not enough space for what you're proposing. A driveway for 1 house, maybe, okay? Whatever the problem is as far as trying to get this passed as a hardship, it's not a hardship. It's not. You're creating a hardship. So I'll save the rest of my stuff for afterwards, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this back, and I don't want to interrupt what you're saying, but I do have a question for you, Mr.
Sure.
I think it's something we might need to discuss offline as well. And it just came to me now, based on the questions from this member of the public, is does this roadway, because as the witness just testified, it's now making that lot and the lot on the other side now corner lots based on the development of that road. Does this roadway now create variance conditions on those two properties based upon the existing conditions?
Those are the 4 variances correctly identified in your professional review letters.
But the variances being requested are on those, the adjacent lots, or on your lot? Because if the variance conditions are on those adjacent lots, they have to be part of this application. They would be properties that need to be included as part of the application. So that's why I think we need to discuss this and figure out what exactly is being created here and what variance conditions are being created.
Yeah. So, Mr. Seawald, considering that it could potentially be a variance relief which would require those applicants to allegedly be a part of this application, would that still be the case if the right-of-way, instead of being dedicated as a public right-of-way, remained a private street?
It would not. Those 4 variances would go away because that would not be a public dedicated right-of-way. It would
I don't think it needs to be a public right-of-way.
If it's a right-of-way, period, public or private, it would create those variances. If it's a driveway, then it wouldn't. But then now you have a frontage issue because now you're having a driveway service 18 homes.
You can still have a corner lot with a private road.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a public road for it to be a corner lot.
My opinion, these two have to be part of the application. These 2 lots have to be part of the application if you're creating a variance for them. Because with the driveway, the existing condition, it's a driveway. It doesn't create a variance for them because it is still their side yard. But when you put in either a public road or a private road, now you're creating a corner lot. And I'm surprised, we talked about this in our internal meeting, that how can you have a variance on another property get approved by the board unless it is part of the application?
There would be nothing preventing us from changing the proposal for this to be a driveway itself or a private right-of-way and moving forward with this application. Again, the variance relief is tied to the proposed application itself and only the proposed application. This is not burdening those lots at all.
But how can the board grant a variance on an adjacent property as part of your application?
Well, as you heard from Mr. Seawald, if it's no longer a public right-of-way, then
It doesn't matter. How?
it does matter, it's the law.
No, I
What
just
do you
heard-
mean, a private road?
Even as a private road, you could create a variance condition on that property. You're creating even as a private road, you'd still be creating front yards. Whether this is a private road, even as a private road, you would still have, each one of those individual lots would still have front yards off of the private road, right? They still have front yard setbacks, they still have front yard width requirements. Whether it's private or private, I disagree. Legally, it still creates a variance condition.
But wouldn't
The
it
only way
not-
it wouldn't be is if it's a shared driveway, not a roadway. If it's a shared driveway where they all servicing 18 lots, then yes, I agree with you. Then that wouldn't, but now you're just having a shared driveway with 50 feet of frontage, because the only frontage would be on whatever that roadway is, Green Street. Because if you're creating a private road, it's a private roadway, it's a right-of-way, whether it's private or public. Now, that's the roadway, that's where all of the setbacks, everything is based off. It's still a public roadway. And that's why you still don't need frontage off of Green Street if it's a private roadway or a public roadway. That's why I said, I think it's something you and I might need to speak offline and discuss. But I think it's something that is a legal issue that needs to be addressed before this board can go forward. Application.
I respectfully, I can't help but to feel this is like a fishing exploration here. Because the one thing I want to make note on, the one thing I want to make clear to everybody, there are currently 6 single-family homes that are being serviced by this driveway. So if anything, this is an existing nonconformity.
By a driveway.
Then
It will be a private driveway.
it'll be a private driveway.
It's either an existing nonconformity, in my opinion.
I mean,
When's a private
if
driveway
it's-
not a
if it's a
driveway?
driveway, then this is not going to be a subdivision. You can't have a driveway into individual lots. then it's a driveway where you're having 7 homes on, or 18 homes on a single lot. This is not a fishing expedition. This is the testimony that came up right now. I just heard it. I spoke to our planner right when I heard it, because I said, wait a second, the witness just testified that now these 2 lots that's not part of this application, that they don't have ownership to, are now being created as corner lots because of the application. And because of that, now they have front yard setback requirements off of the new proposed private or public roadway, Fairmont Drive. And that is now something that would have to be part of this application, in my opinion, period, legally. And it can't go further without that. Now, we want to discuss whether it can be a driveway and how that affects the application and whether or not you can still have individual lots off of a driveway versus a private road, I'm happy to have those conversations with you. But right now, in my 25 years of experience on land use, I don't see how that legally can happen.
I understand your commentary, and I think you're absolutely accurate. We need to have this conversation outside of the record. But I just want to make note that we have been on this journey with this municipality for 4 years, many obstacles. Fortunately, we've been able to overcome them and work with this municipality, and that's what we choose to continue to do. But at no point in these 4 years has that ever been raised as an issue.
I'm raising it, and this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So I reviewed the application for this evening. I didn't catch it then. I'm hearing it in the testimony, and that's why I'm raising it.
Okay.
I can't speak to the last 4 years because I haven't been part of those conversations or this application before then.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for this witness?
If I may, real quick, I think the planning board attorney, though, had said that he would recommend we can't move forward until this issue is resolved. So I don't know if it would be appropriate to continue with public comment.
I agree 100%. The application has to be paused.
Okay.
We need to work this out to determine legally how we proceed, and then we can pick up where we left off.
Okay.
Or, have to revisit some of the testimony.
Okay.
So procedurally, let's first discuss the continuance of this application, then we have to discuss the Ticetown application. I mean, obviously, we'll discuss, we'll talk, immediately and figure out how to proceed, how to address this, but when can this be placed? When's the next available agenda for this to be put on?
October 22nd.
Respectfully, considering the fact of how many years we've been working towards a land use entitlement for this site, we would ask the board to consider a potential earlier date. As you can imagine, it kind of sits with the narrative of, this is taking a while.
Yeah, I have to defer because I don't know what our
Sure,
schedule is for each
sure.
application, how busy each meeting is.
Unfortunately, Joe, we are booked. That is the soonest available unless the applicant requests a special meeting and the board is ready to entertain a special meeting. But we are booked. We have multiple applications. I can give a date, but we are so booked that I don't think they will be heard. The earliest available is that date.
Well, we could, and I'm just throwing.
Can I just throw something? So, can you guys work through the issues that you have to work through, and then we can assess whether or not it could be, because you could say the next planning board meeting is next month. You may not work through that. To have folks come out and then they're not coming, so why don't you guys work through the issues, right? Once the issues are worked through from the planning department and the applicant and yourself, then we could see when the next available is, right? Put it in for, put it in for the October date, so you have that locked in, so we don't have other ones come in, and then we could address getting you into a sooner date if it's feasible.
Right, that's
Is
what I
that
was going
okay?
to recommend.
Yeah,
Is that we put it on, so it's being advised here for the public that it's being carried to the October 24th date. 24th, was that correct?
22nd.
27th. Wait, second or second?
Second.
Second, okay, sorry. To the October 22nd date, without further public notice being required, this is your notice that's being carried to that date. If it determines that another date opens up, it's an earlier date that we can put it on, or the special meeting gets scheduled, then we will schedule for that date, but you, at that point, will have to give notice notice will have to be provided. So you will get new notice if it's not gonna be on for the October 22nd, okay? So every member of the public is aware, on this application, come back on October 22nd unless you receive notice otherwise.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So then, Mr. Chairman, we'll move
And then
to
I would assume Ticetown will also be carried to the October 22nd date?
Is that, okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
October 22nd.
So anyone, and we'll do the same, just to clarify, anyone here on the 403 Ticetown LLC application, that is also being carried to the October 22nd date. If that gets rescheduled to any other date, you will be provided separate new notice. If you don't receive that notice, then that means it's going to remain on for the October 22nd public hearing date for the planning board, if you're here for that application.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to open it up for general public comments. See no hands, okay.
Hi, I'm 35. I grew up here in Old Bridge. I attended carpenter school. Like many kids, I explored the woods in the back. Our science, I remember fond memories our science class brought us, to explore the ecosystem of Deep Run and all the different lakes that are behind carpenter school. When I saw the application here,
You can't address any pending application.
Oh,
It's one of
okay.
these. This is just general public comments. If
Okay,
there's an
general?
ordinance, something happened in town.
Okay, so I
that-
can't,
can't
all right.
address
I didn't
any
have a
public hearing.
question for them before, but this is just my general comment that, we really need to protect our waterways first and foremost. We're losing land. Once we lose our land, it's gone. So it's devastating to be here in Old Bridge and to see the changes that are happening and the changes that have not happened, right? And I don't know, what the solution is, why this land needs to be developed, why it was.
You're addressing about a certain application. We can't.
Okay.
You can't
All
talk
right.
about.
I have nothing else. I can't speak, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's just by law, if we let you speak, then the application, whether it's approved or denied, becomes an issue. So we can't
I don't
do
know
that
why I
anymore.
came here then.
Well,
I'm a citizen of the community and we're all here
Well, no,
concerned.
you'll have an
Right.
opportunity to speak on the application when it's being carried. Like I said, at the end of the application, you're provided to provide any testimony, any discussion items. you
Oh,
want
okay.
on the
Right, I mean, I didn't have a particular question for them. I know you guys were looking for questions, but,
And then the comments can come at the end. So the
Okay.
questions come throughout the application after each witness, and the comments and concerns that you may have, you bring at the
Okay.
end. Because at the very end, when they close, we open it to the public, and then the public, it's your floor. You can talk
Okay,
about it.
well,
You
I'm
can
just
pitch
gonna
any way
say, this is not to do with this application at all, it's just this parcel of land, it should not be developed. It makes no sense. You are, circumventing Mother Nature for no reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, I close the public comments. Looking for a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.